worse than cat. And he trusted us so much that we did it ourselves, but we didn't do it, so we just sprayed water on it.
We're about to go live.
Yay.
Are we live?
Yeah.
Thank you all for your patience. We've just had a bit of some technical difficulties there. Now, thank you also for being here today. This is a general meeting of the Waipuna Halswell-Hornby-Riccarton Community Board. This meeting is live streamed and recordings will be available on the Community Board's YouTube channel. Now, voting records will be published in the minutes and on the council website. If a voting record is not shown for an item in the minutes, it means that the item was carried unanimously by those present. If you're sitting in the public gallery, thank you for attending. We welcome your attendance and your interest in our discussions. Please note that the public gallery should remain quiet during the meeting. Toilets are located in the corridor outside the meeting room. In case of an emergency, please exit via the door at the back of the room. There are 2 staircases to exit the building. Please follow staff directions in the case of an emergency. Now, my apologies during the karakia, as I am unable to stand up due to a back injury. But please, everybody, do stand up. Karakia. So go on apologies. We've got Helen Broughton who sends her apologies, and I will be an early departure as well. We've got Cody Cooper and Debbie Mora via audiovisual link. Moved by Mark. Can I have a seconder? Tyler. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Now, declarations of interest. I would like to declare an interest in item number 15. So I will be stepping back from that item and Sarah will be taking over from there. Confirmation of previous minutes. Moved by Andre, seconded by Mark. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Now we move on to public forum. We've got Pam Clark and George Hooper. Local residents will address the board regarding the bus activity on Kahu Road. Please come forward. Welcome, Pam and George.
Thank you. Thank you.
And you have 5 minutes to speak on your topic.
Good afternoon. My name is Pamela Clark. I live at Unit 1, 17 Kahu Road, and have done so for the last 12 years. During that time, not only has traffic increased, but also heavy vehicles, which are now having an impact on our property. Since the introduction of electric buses on routes 130 and 131, we have been aware of movement from them passing our homes. I emailed ECAN the 11th of November 2024, informing them of the effect the new buses were having on our properties. The reply was that it was a roading matter. I then emailed our local councillor, Tyler Harrison Hunt, informing him of the problem. He kindly contacted us and came out and talked with us and listened to our concerns. Not only is it the buses, but other heavy laden vehicles. We feel there is an underground issue which is contributing to the vibrations and movements that our properties experience. We are sure we can identify the areas that is causing the problems travelling both north and south. I have spoken with residents from numbers 11 to 29, and they are all experiencing the same problem. There are times during a 24-hour period that the movement of my home feels like an earthquake, which I find distressing and frightening. This is more noticeable upstairs. Downstairs, I can hear the house creak and the clock on my kitchen wall rattles, and I often have to straighten pictures. This is something as a Cantabrian I do not enjoy. Should I wish to sell my home in the future, I could not do so with a clear conscience and inflict this problem on a new owner. I have grandchildren and other family members staying at times, and they are very aware of the movement with electric buses and other heavy laden vehicles. I thank you for this opportunity to present our case, and we sincerely hope there will be a positive outcome for us. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. And questions, I've got Tyler and Andre and Cody.
I will speak as well after.
You still have, oh, sorry, okay.
I think we've got a couple more minutes.
Yes, please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Look, my name's George Trevor. Background, I'm a professional engineer, but I'm not a geotech engineer or a civil engineer. Actually, process and chemical engineering is my bag. But for my sins and past life, I was actually a commissioner of the Earthquake Commission, and I chaired the EQC Research Foundation. So I have some understanding of these matters, albeit I'm not expert and I'm not competent to comment on any expert matters, but I think it's important. I know that you guys hear a lot of stories. So what I've done in this instance is I've actually prepared a briefing note, which I'm not going to read. I'd like to leave it behind. I understand I can email it through to Faye Collins, which, thank you, Faye. Look, I will do that tonight or tomorrow or sometime. Right. So you have a, I think it's important that we actually listen to what Pam has said. I'm actually her neighbour. Listen to what Pam has said and sort of record and put down on record what we think is happening and why we think this matters, okay? Just really quickly, if I can do that, I appreciate it. As Pam says, we live on the corner of Kahu Road and Tatoki Street. And if you look at that, if you know that road, it's a bend, it's about a 30-degree bend. And heavy vehicles and buses in particular, but not only buses, I mean, some of the heavy vehicles, and particularly during the reconstruction of Boys High concrete trucks, they run close to the curb and they come out, okay? So we can imagine dynamic loading. We can imagine a big heavy vessel coming in, hitting a pavement and coming back out. And that's part of the problem that we've described. But also it's complicated because underneath Tatoki Street is a really complex, very old sewage system, wastewater system. The wastewater is collected across on Tatoki Street, comes underground, comes up in a bubbling sump on our side of the street, then goes down by gravity down the curving into the sump that enters the stormwater system on Straven Road. And I'll come back to that in a moment. Just understand, so this is geometrically and physically quite a vulnerable location. It's not just your normal street, you know, sitting outside the university in Craig Road or something like that. Now, Kahu Road's a busy road, but it's always been livable. I've been there since 2000, so I've been there for 26 years. And since the 2010, 2011 earthquakes, things changed. And things have steadily changed. We had liquefaction outside our street, not on our property, but particularly up towards Boys High. And we know from that there's a lot of issues with the subsoil there. And since 2010, 2011, we've had increased noise and vibration. We get silting along the curb every time it rains. Silt comes up underground and sits on our curb. And these effects are not isolated. They go right down the whole street. So this is a progressive problem. That's not just something that's just happened. And it occurred before the buses, but the step change occurred with the buses. And it's really simple. Why? Heavy axle loads, stronger acceleration force because they're electric, and they take the that left-hand curve, whop in and whop out. And Pam's bedroom is literally 15 meters from that curve. So you can understand why she's concerned. She gets it. I'm 70 meters away, I get it. So what was becoming a slow problem has now become acute, and that's why we're here, okay? We're not here because this is something that's just a narcissism. It's because it's become acute. I defined it in this briefing note as something like an MM scale 3 to 4 earthquake, which is just a tad less than what we had. And I just want to it's about that stormwater system. It's really important. The council did their job. I've got about 2 minutes, that's right. The council did their
You've actually run out of time.
Well, I can stop if you want me to.
Okay.
Well,
I can allow the
2 more minutes and I'll be finished.
it's the questions from the
Yes.
board.
Cool. Give me 2 minutes and I'll finish, or I'm not.
All right.
It's up to you. I'm happy to stop.
Now,
Okay,
it's
thank you.
okay, 2 minutes, and then
That's
I'll just
fantastic.
allow a few
It's
questions.
really important because when they cleaned out the bubbling sump, which means it's empty, it's dry, no rain, and then water started coming back up inside the sump, which means that there is a connection failure, and that connection failure, I suspect, is because the buses come in and broken the line, and there's groundwater. We know from liquefaction, we know this is a swamp area, we know there's underlying peats, all those sorts of things are happening. So, in essence, we know there's a structural issue there, and there's movement below the surface, and that's part of the issue we have. What we think's happening, just to finalise, is that there's some saturated soils there. It's pre-earthquake sediment, deteriorating road subgrade. The council have been doing some work, but it's all superficial. It hasn't been real work. Heavy vehicles are going through, and so we have a failure, and it's really impacting on Pam, but I think it's impacting on all the properties down there in terms of amenity value, and that's why we want you guys involved. We think, as I say in the briefing paper, it needs to be systematically approached, and we need to be able to have confidence that the underlying problems are solved. Doing the pavement, which is what they're suggesting they will do, it doesn't cut it. It's just not going to work. Look, I'll leave it at that. There's details in this paper if people want to read it.
All right.
But it has been, I really appreciate the opportunity.
Great. Okay. So I'm really conscious of the time, but we still have a few deputations to go through, but I have already I accepted the questions from Tyler, Andre, and Cody. Just one quick questions each, please.
Thank you both so much for coming in. It's been a 2-year struggle, to be honest, and I'm glad that you've come to the table. The question is actually directed at staff. So a few months ago, I received feedback from staff in broad terms, and this is what it says. This location is currently on the transport program for a treatment. It was scheduled for a resurfacing. However, the Three Waters works have delayed that. After they are completed, there will be a 12-month defects liability period, and this location will be programmed for after that passes. Due to the condition of the carriageway and the issues underneath the surface, staff will be programming this section for the rehab program rather than just a reseal, which should address the vibration issues. I've got a question in regards to that, if we can get some more information on that project. I did see that did come up in a council meeting, council briefing. However, there was a list of requests that came from the residents asking for certain alignments with the Three Waters works, which is the underground stuff which they've been alluding to. I'm wondering if staff could give a memo on the more deeper underlying problems which may be related to the Three Waters works.
So quickly, just hear the other question and we'll come back and frame the request.
Yep.
Start.
Yep.
Okay. Andre.
Thank you. If there's works program for the road, that sounds like a promising start. Just want to check you'll do this presentation also at Environment Canterbury as well, which you'd be able to do so. You would have had the opportunity. I'd encourage you to do so as well. They get this feedback, I'd say, quite a bit. They are also moving to lighter buses than those, so they acknowledge that there is a problem. They've just got a new double-decker bus, for example, that's even lighter than these buses that you're talking about. So they are extremely heavy, causing issues all over the city. So,
A bit lighter, but fully weighted, and those buses about 25, 26 tons. Full concrete concrete trucks, 19 tons. The roads are designed for less than about 19 tons max. But it's a dynamic loading. It's not. This is not. That's the really important point at this point. It's not simply straight loading. It's a dynamic load, and that's what's causing the aggravation. So a traffic management plan would be keen, and we're hopeful that as well, which might just slow the speed down for people.
But just important this feedback gets relayed onto the ECAN table as well.
Can I just say that when I got a reply from ECAN, they just said it was a roading matter.
Yes.
And there was no further conversation with them.
Yeah, they may respond differently if you go do a forum like
we can approach them.
to the
To the elected members.
because we can look at the road, but they need to take this feedback on about the bus as well, which I imagine I've already had, but it doesn't hurt to continue to hear it where the
No, absolutely do that.
If the road design needs to take account.
Thanks, Andre. Cody, I take it you no longer wish to ask a question?
Sorry, I was just putting my hand down. So I just want to acknowledge the issue and thank you for coming in. I've heard this issue from a number of other residents, including in Hornby along Waterloo Road and from Quarry Tracks and Amy's Road with the buses as well. So I'm just wondering, Marie, if we could maybe note this as part of our submission that we should do on the annual plan to just ensure that council knows that these are issues that are actually a priority for us to sort in our community. Thank you.
Yes, thanks for that, Cody. Yeah, we'll note.
I'll
that
note
down.
that down separate to that phase.
Okay, yeah. All right, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike, for 2 minutes.
Yeah. Look forward to reading your brief.
So the board
Thank you.
Request,
He can't meet once a month. Do a contact just-
Provide a detailed memo on the works plan.
on the investigation, if we think they've done the investigation.
I think the investigation is within the program itself, within the project itself.
Provide a detailed advice on what project?
is it
What
called?
did you call it, Tyler?
It was the Kahu. I got it from Council Info.
You able to ban these heavy buses for us?
Yeah, just do Kahu Road. And then
Marie,
This is
Marie,
pretty
can,
much from the edge of Boys High all the way around Kahu Road.
So the Kahu Road, but what project is it? What is it?
reinstatement renewal. It is a rehab program.
Program.
Oh, hang on, Debbie, I'll get
Joseph first and then you after Tyler. With particular regards to
But issues.
vibration issues in Kahu Road. Yep.
Could we also ask for a summary of things like traffic counts, types of vehicles, and potential options like traffic management and vehicle restrictions?
I can give you the counts right now.
Well, detailed advice might have that.
including
Yeah.
traffic counts.
Vehicle types,
Vehicle types.
traffic management, and potential vehicle restrictions.
Can't restrict them. That's 3.8% heavy vehicles. So
Vehicle movement.
and the average speeds are
Vehicle
low.
types
So it'll
of
be the
movement,
road,
wasn't
not the traffic, to be honest. But just looking at it. Yeah, very much.
Joseph,
I had detailed advice, including traffic counts, vehicle types and movements. Is there something else?
Potential traffic management or restrictions.
potential restrictions.
If it's 50 all the way around us, the bush.
Yeah,
The average speeds are 41.
all right, thanks, Joseph. Debbie, did you want to add something? Debbie?
sorry, I just unmuted. I just wanted to add that we had a similar situation outside Somerset in here in Horswell, where there was continual vibration, and fortunately the Residents Association within there, he was an engineer and brought it to our attention, and it was all fixed. It was a roading thing that needed to be dealt with. So I don't know if we want to go back to that and look at what that problem was. It might be the remedial action that might be required.
We'll investigate.
Yeah, okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Want me to read that back?
Yes.
What I've got. So, the board requests staff provide detailed advice on the Kahu Road, on the Kahu Road rehabilitation program, with particular regard to the issue of vibration on Kahu Road. This to include traffic counts, vehicle types, and movements, and any traffic management
Or restrictions.
or restrictions. Yeah.
All good?
Is that you?
All good?
Capture everything? Yep.
Me.
Okay, good. All right, thank you. Now we move on to deputators.
What comes in?
We have a few, and
Some people have.
can I check if Kirsten Harisatana is here?
Yes.
Okay, so Kirsten will come forward, please, to address us in relation to the cemetery concept plan report, item number 10.
Thank you. Just ran up the stairs, so you may want to catch my breath.
Good job.
Traffic is crazy out there.
So you will have 10 minutes, including questions and answers.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for the opportunity to speak to you all today. For Kristen Harris-Tartana Aho. I'm here just to talk about the proposed cemetery at Templeton. We note that while there have been some minor changes to the layout in response to neighbours and residents' concerns, we noted when we looked through the submission that a large number of submissions request that the stages of the cemetery development be reversed and stage 1 becomes stage 2. This way it would have no effect on residents at all. Council could set up, get themselves established, and then it would flow in to having more of an immediate effect on the residential houses. At the moment, we border that land, so have farmland all around us, and there are no houses at all on the stage 2 side that they've proposed, whereas there's a lot of houses on the stage 1 side. So I'm going to go through 4.12 points and try and explain where we sit. So the first one that the council officers' rationale was there is a risk to consenting due to proximity to the quarry. If there is a risk, it is extremely low, in our opinion. Bolton Hogan are highly unlikely to oppose the cemetery given community sensitivity to their own quarrying operations. The second point, reversing the cemetery staging would place the cemetery close to quarry operations and therefore presumably dust and noise. I found this really interesting at the public meeting when asked why they wouldn't open stage 2 as stage 1. It was said because of the noise and the dust. And I was kind of like, it's okay for the living, but it's not okay for the dead. So I feel like they're putting the dead ahead of the people that live in the community that have already had to suffer through a quarry coming in beside them, which we are trying our best to make work. However, I feel like there could be some give and take in this situation. So local residents have to deal with quarry noise and dust. The cemetery will be a benefit to all city residents. Therefore, it is good enough for the local residents to deal with the operation of the quarry. Then it is good enough for everyone else to deal with the operation of the quarry when they bury their dead. Local residents were vocal in the opposition to the quarry. If CCC were so concerned about dust and noise on local residents, why didn't they move more actively to mitigate that within the quarry when the oppositions were going through? Point 3, quarry traffic would have a greater impact on cemetery access and vehicle movements. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the proposal. We are 2 wee houses that sit on Madison's Road, or 3 wee houses actually, that sit on Madison's Road. The amount of traffic that travels that road is frightening. A lot of traffic comes through. Every 3rd vehicle is a double trailer truck coming from iZone. And since the earthquake, the amount of traffic that goes down that road is frightening. And whereas Lawson's Road is quite quiet, it's a better road, there's no potholes, it's wider. So it would be an easier option in my opinion. So all roads that front the proposal cemetery site have significant traffic volumes, including heavy vehicles. Significant use of Dawson Road for quarry traffic, which is the basis for council officers' opposition, would be in breach of their resource consent also. They're only allowed so many trucks down that road. Therefore, the argument by council officers is flawed. Point, I think it's 4, open space benefits to the local community are reduced. This is flawed. The land is currently open space, but not open to the public. Its development as a cemetery is unlikely to be viewed as a boon for local residents for recreation purposes. It's a tapu area. People aren't going to go in there and hang out. Health New Zealand land on Madison's Road. If required, the council can take this land under the Public Works Act for the cemetery, mooting this point for council officers. And it would require complete redesign and further engagement. This is a real sticking point for me. The only notification we got was the first meeting was held at the Templeton residence at the community centre there, and there was a notice on Facebook. I spoke to the person involved and they said you should have had a flyer drop. We received nothing, absolutely nothing. So rocked up the next day to that, popped some submissions down and then said we would like to actually engage in active dialogue with the council around this. We'd like to talk to people, come and knock on our door. Have not heard anything until this. And I think it was you, Mark, that posted something. I was like, whoa, what's going on here? So I've scrambled to get time off work to find children. I have 2 children with disabilities that someone's looking after them. So it has been a huge boon for me to chase this. And I just want to put that out there. So I'm actually really frustrated around this. And it wouldn't have been required if the council actually came and spoke to us a little bit more before they put the plan, they designed the plan. And we could have told them, this is what happens in this area. We live it every single day. That road, we attend a number of accidents on that road just past our house. There's a sweeping bend that has no camber, so it does not pull the cars around. People are meant to do, it's been lowered, and so there's been fewer. However, people still take it at 120. You hear the bang, we're out of bed, we're going down there and we're dealing with it. We don't often call police because the car's left, the people have gone. So it's a real consideration, I feel, for the farmer behind us because he's always fixing his fence. So it is a real worry that we're going to be pushing more, having the opening just past the house and pushing more vehicles down that road. And the last point, councillor officers' opposition to reversing stage 1 and stage 2 appears in part to relate to traffic and access concerns. These traffic and access concerns exist on Madison's Road and on Kirk Road, as evident by submissions. If the Community Board recommends going ahead with the amended plan, then we request that we also add a recommendation for a complete upgrade of both Madison's Road and Kirk Road, where it fronts the cemetery. So that would include curbing, channeling, footpaths, and a speed reduction to 50 kilometres an hour, and a consideration for a roundabout at both Dawson's Road and at Kirk Road. Kirk Road is slightly off, so it's not a perfect cross. So it is actually also a very tricky road to navigate. And that's me, so thank you. But I've got it all here. Did you want it? Yes, I'm prepared.
Right, you've got 3 minutes left, so I'll have questions. I've got Cody and Mark. Right, Cody, go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for taking the time to come in. I just want to acknowledge that there wasn't a lot of time for people to come in, and I appreciate that it's also hard when you've got to sort childcare and so on. The traffic issue I've heard raised a lot. Would you say that, you know, Templeton residents feel like there's been a lack of investment in Templeton to sort of mitigate a lot of the transport impacts, you know, from heavy vehicles and so on? Can you tell us about that?
Absolutely. I've lived in the area for over 20 years. We first bought it was a small, quiet country town, and I understand change happens. But after the earthquake and the implementation of iZone in Rolleston, and a lot of people using that traffic, there's been no work done on that piece of land, apart from potholes occasionally filled. The next door neighbour fills a lot of the potholes now because that's his job and he's sick of waiting for it to happen. But none, I would say none. And there was some talk around when iZone first went in that trucks were not allowed to come down this road. They were like, they won't use that road, they won't use that road. A lot of farmers in the area, obviously in the Selwyn district, because Dawson is our cut-off. I'm not really sure what the official word is. Yeah, boundary, thank you. I was speaking to a farmer yesterday and he said, oh, we raised that. And they said, no, it won't happen, it won't happen. Well, this morning on the way to work, I passed 3, one after the other, big trucks with big silo, double tandem, big silos on the back, and they would have been doing 80 kilometres before that corner, easy.
So just so I understand correctly, so you would support kind of flipping the plan. So you would actually have stage 1 become stage 2 and vice versa?
I fundamentally don't have a problem with having a cemetery behind me at all. I respect the rights that people need somewhere to bury their loved ones. However, my problem is that you have the perfect opportunity to open up stage 2 as stage 1 and mitigate the effects to the whole pretty much of Templeton as we get used to having this change in our community. Change is challenging, whatever way you look at it, but change is inevitable, and we need to give time for people to work their way through it.
All right,
Thank
thank you, Mark.
I think Cody's pretty much asked mine, but it's all about changing the staging.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Thanks, Mark.
Heard that loud and clear.
Move on, Tyler.
I'm good now, thank you.
You're good. All right. Right, thank you very much. We're out of time. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well done.
Thank you.
Job.
Been great.
Next up, we've got Irene Herding. Are you here? Oh, please come forward. Welcome. And as before, you've got 10 minutes, including questions and answers.
Just a heads up, I've never done anything like this before.
Don't worry.
It's all right.
No, it'll be fine.
Welcome.
Thank you. I wrote down a few bullet points. I actually came along to your last meeting on the 27th of November and sat and listened and cringed. Sorry. Things that were brought up and that there was a flyer drop had been done. Anybody I've spoken to in Templeton, nobody received a flyer in their mailbox about any of this. There was also probably I'll just read my writing if I put these on. Comment about the quarry would be done with by the time the proposed sports area was put in. Well, the quarry is not going to be done for 20-25 years after talking to people that are there. So therefore there would still be a lot of silica dust going into the sports area where we're expecting our tamariki to run around and breathe it in, which to me does not make sense when you could move the cemetery to there. They're already dead. It's not going to bother them. There was also another comment about the devaluing of our properties. If it goes along everyone on Royden Drive's properties, the comment was made of it is what it is. To me, that was very disrespectful and just like, yeah, because it's not, it is what it is. I have a picture here of what I have over my back fence now. I will lose that. That to me is not, it is what it is. Also the impact on us. We have barbecues and stuff with our families. If we're having fun in our backyard and there's a funeral going on over the back fence, that I feel I would have to retreat inside and wouldn't be able to have my life. The impact would just be, yeah, not good. I also just, I drew this up at work. So this is stage 1 where you're proposing for it to be. And I just moved it around into where the sports ground would be. It can be done. I don't understand why we can't move it to where the sports ground would be when it backs onto nobody's property, affects nobody. Easy access off Dawson's Road, right the way along the road for the cemetery. I can't understand why we're going to affect people when we don't need to. Yeah, it's pretty much me.
Right, thank you, Irene. I've got questions from Mark and I've got one question and Cody. Mark, go ahead, please.
Excellent, thank you. So you've great work with that. Yeah, well done. And
Lunch break.
yeah, great to see you in here. I came and saw you in your
Yes,
backyard.
you've been to my property and saw exactly what we're going to lose.
Yeah. Would you be happy with the idea of swapping stage 2 and stage 1 as shown on the proposals in the?
I'm not opposed to the cemetery at all.
No.
I just don't like where you're putting it.
So if we were to look at doing stage 2 as stage 1,
Yeah.
that would suffice?
With the option of moving stage 1 to where stage 3 is.
Yeah.
And the sports ground went to where stage 1 is. Yeah.
Cool. We will see what we can do with that, but thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. So that
You can have it.
that you showed us, that was swapping the stage 1 with the sports park rather than stage 2, right?
Yes.
And so you're happy for the sports park to be next to you?
Yes.
You're
I
You
would
would
much
not-
rather have
You know
children.
that they will have more traffic issues there closer to your property and
Yeah.
noise and
Yeah, I would quite happily swap out grieving people in my backyard for children running around being happy.
okay, thank you. Cody,
Thank you. In terms of access, so if I was a Selwyn resident, maybe coming from Rolleston or, coming from the central city to the cemetery, in your view, which way would be better to get there? Would it be from Kirk Road and then along Medicines Road, or using the roundabout on Dawson's Road?
Roundabout on Dawson's.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
all right, thank you, Irene.
And
Thank you
just-
very much. You did well.
Yes.
Right?
Would you like these or?
Yes, please. Right. And so next I've got Brian Fahey. Brian, you here? Oh, please come forward. Welcome, Brian. As I mentioned earlier, 10 minutes, including questions and answers.
18 minutes because
That's all good.
Irene spoke basically the same as what I've done.
Please have a seat, yeah.
Sorry, it's opinions. So,
That's good.
so, yeah.
Councillor Moore, we're starting with the next one. Thank you. So we've got Brian.
Yeah,
Brian.
Brian Fahey, yeah. I've lived in Templeton for 32 years, same address. Wood Drive, and Irene, now I couldn't quite hear a lot of it, talking about the roads around, I travel those roads every morning and night.
Mm.
And they've got to be done up anyway. They're absolute awesome cars. So that's basically it. And the fact that residential, if we can keep the residential away from the cemetery, it'd be a lot better. And I think stage one we should swap with the proposed sports bar and start off with stage two. And that's my opinion.
Oh, are you
Yeah,
finished?
yeah, I'm open for questions.
Okay, great. That was pretty short. So I've got Mark, Andre, and then Tyler. Go ahead, Mark, please.
Excellent. Thank you for coming in. It's great to see you here.
Yep.
Good to be able to hear your voices of Templeton coming across clearly. So you've just mentioned swapping stage two and stage one.
Yeah,
That would be your preference.
yeah. Stage two become your first stage.
Yeah.
And one cemetery.
Follows on later.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, certainly hear that, and we'll see what we can do in the way of magic.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank
very
you.
much. Thank you.
Cody?
I've got Andre.
Thank you. Sorry, you mentioned keeping residential out. Do you mean the advantage of having a cemetery over more residential development and more subdivisions? Was that your meaning on that? Are you able to elaborate on that?
Keeping it away from
Yeah, just
Or keeping it away from residential, you mean? Okay.
you're not, like as said, we're not against the cemetery.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Yeah.
But we could sort of manage it better, and I think I'm following her.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
Her a
Yeah.
wee bit.
No, I got you now. Well, thank you.
Anything else?
Thank you,
Cody.
Andre. Tyler.
Tyler.
G'day. There you go. Yeah, I was Templeton born and bred.
All right.
I grew up in Westfield Ave.
Right.
I've got a question around the dust. Have you had any experience from of the dust from the quarry?
At Royden Drive?
Yeah.
No.
Cool.
We're upwind of it and quite a way back from it.
Do you know of any other residents that have maybe experienced the dust?
Yeah, closer down Low Bay and all that, I suppose.
Near the reserve, Low Bay.
I live in Low Bay. I back on to the.
Sorry, gallery cannot be speaking, please.
It's okay. My bad. Sorry. Okay. Yep. Cool. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Do we have Jenny Smith? Jenny,
No, she's not here.
Can I comment on the last thing? I had my hand up.
Question.
is there a question, Debbie?
No, I just wanted to clarify.
No,
point.
we're moving on. do we have Jenny Smith in the gallery? No?
I just wanted to clarify
right.
that the dust is
Um,
silica dust, which cannot be seen.
Right. Margaret Peevish? Margaret, welcome. Come forward, please.
Okay.
And as I mentioned earlier, 10 minutes, including questions and answers.
Thank you. Hello, I'm Margaret Peevish. I've lived in Templeton for more than 35 years. I co-own a bulk transport company based in Yaldhurst. I am concerned about the traffic along Kirk Road with the proposed cemetery. It's a quarry access road, Kirk Road. There's no roadside parking available, and access to the cemetery with heavy traffic travelling along Kirk Road to and from these quarries will not work. The Kirk Road, Madison Road intersection is not made for the traffic it currently has, let alone anymore. The same with Kirk Road and the main South Road intersection. The reports I read when the proposal for the cemetery, they had traffic reports that were done in 2021. A lot has happened in this since then. Increase in traffic from the west to access the motorway via Kirk Road, Main South Road and Marshes Road. The volumes are large at the moment. I have lived in Royden Drive, where it is backing onto another address in Templeton, and currently reside in Globe Bay Drive in Templeton Park and back onto the quarries. I don't have an issue with the quarry over there. As I said, I own a bulk transport company. We cart from these quarries. There was a question regarding a number of traffic on Dawson's Road. I believe that the access to the cemetery would be better there. We, as a transport owner, we pay road user charges, fuel and for tyres, and we will use the quickest and easiest route to get anywhere around the city. We have a contract to cart from Fulton Hogan's new quarry, Royden Quarry. When we do that for them, we are required not to use Dawson's Road under this particular contract. When we cart for ourselves from that quarry, we will use whichever road is the quickest to get to our destination. So there's several ways you can see how that access can be used. So if there's a limited number of trucking movements allowed on Dawson's Road and people are seeing large numbers of trucks, not all those trucks are coming from the Royden Quarry, or in fact, they could be coming from anywhere else. So that blurs those numbers a little bit. So yes, I would like to see the cemetery move from currently off Kirk Road to access from Dawson's. Thank you.
All right. Oh, thank you, Margaret. I've got a couple of members who'd like to ask you questions. I've got Mark and then Cody.
Excellent. Thank you for coming in and well spoken.
Thank you.
You did well. So you've just said you'd be keen to see stage 1, stage 2 basically swapped.
Correct.
And access off Dawson's.
Yes.
And that kind of makes sense. So happy to hear that. We'll see what we can do.
Thank you, Mark. Cody, go ahead, please.
So I guess it's an interesting mix you've got there. You're a resident business operator and you're also accessing the quarry. So the budget for this project is around $15 to $20 million, but it's meant to add capacity for about 100 years worth of burials. If we could use a portion of that funding for transport improvements, what improvements would you like to see? Perhaps not even just specifically in relation to quarry, but I guess generally in terms of the transport access in the area.
Well, anything to make those intersections safer. And by not having access to the cemetery off Kirk Road,
So Kirk Road remains a quarry access road.
Yep. So to be clear, so you'd be looking for improvements at Kirk Road and Medicines Road, as well as Medicines Road and Dawson's Road?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Cody. We've got Joseph.
So a previous submitter mentioned, thank you for coming in, by the way, a previous submitter mentioned that there seems to have been an increase of traffic caused by Selwyn District Council's I-Zone. Would you share that impression?
Well, we gravel, whereas I-Zone will be the freight and containers and things. So it's not my area. So certainly there's a lot of container traffic on Jones Road, Railway Terrace.
Thank you. Cool.
Okay, all done. Thank you,
you.
Margaret.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great, thanks. And now I call on Jolene Eager, who will address the board on behalf of the Templeton Residents Association in relation to the cemetery. Welcome, Jolene. And you've got 10 minutes, including questions and answers. And I'm just noting that you're also speaking after this on behalf of 3 other people.
Thank you.
But for this one is the Templeton residents.
Just get the right one here first. Yeah. There we go. So thank you very much. I'm here today on behalf of the Templeton Residents Association and the wider Templeton community, including residents that can't be here today, that want to be present, that have sent comments and things through to me that I have included into the conversation here. So the general position of the community. So I want to be clear from the outset. Most people in Templeton do not oppose the idea of a cemetery in principle. We understand Christchurch needs additional burial space, and we accept that this is a citywide requirement. However, what the community is struggling with is how, where, and how fast this proposal is being processed. The proposed cemetery, which in stage 1 alone is more than double the size of any existing cemetery in Christchurch, offers no specific benefit to Templeton beyond the same service it provides the entire city. The critical difference is that Templeton is the only community living directly beside it. A cemetery is not a neutral land use. It is by definition a place for permanent and respectful disposal of human remains. It's a place of grief, mourning, and committal. It's not a happy place. It's not a recreational one. Our homes, by contrast, is our safe places, where families laugh, where children play, where people unwind, mow the lawns, play music, have barbecues, and live normal lives. Placing these 2 very different land uses directly against each other creates an unavoidable conflict. No matter how sensitively designed, having a cemetery on your boundary line changes how you experience your home. Death is confronting. We all process it differently. Asking families, including young children, to live daily beside burial sites is a significant emotional burden, particularly where there's a clear alternative available. If there's one change that could resolve a large number of community concerns, it's this. Start with stage 2, not stage 1. Stage 2 is set further away from existing homes and would dramatically reduce the immediate emotional, visual, and practical impact on residents, particularly those on Royden Drive and Kirk Road. This is not about stopping the cemetery. It's about sequencing it sensibly. Eliminating impact is far better than trying to mitigate them after the fact. Residents on Royden Drive currently enjoy rural outlooks and mountain views. These views are not a luxury. They contribute directly to mental well-being. There is deep concern about looking onto grave sites, loss of privacy, overplanting that blocks sunlight, and drainage, given the land slopes towards residential properties. Residents are asking, will swales function as intended? What happens in heavy rain? Is there a risk of pooling, flooding, or swamp-like ground conditions? These are not hypothetical concerns. They affect people's homes. Templeton already carries significant background noise. Aircraft overhead, Waipuna Speedway, heavy truck traffic. Residents often have to pause conversations outdoors due to noise. This raises a very genuine question. Is this an appropriate location for quiet, solemn burial services? It also raises practical concerns for residents. Will families feel pressure to stop mowing lawns? Will children play music or sports feel they are being disrespectful? No one wants conflict, but this proposal creates it by design. There's strong concern about the placement of toilets close to residential boundaries, the location of children and infants' burial areas, the risk of antisocial behaviour if these facilities are poorly located and poorly lit. At the same time, Templeton already has a public park, the Templeton Domain, with facilities that are over 20 years old and in urgent need of upgrade. The community is struggling to understand why new amenities are being prioritised inside a cemetery while existing community infrastructure remains neglected. Traffic has been a long-standing issue in Templeton, and residents feel nothing meaningful has been done to address it. Key concerns include increased traffic on Kirk Road, the dangerous intersections on Main South Road and Madison's Road, lack of clarity around park provision, risk of roadside parking damaging grass verge and creating hazards. Comments suggesting around 5 cars per burial do not reflect real-life experience and have undermined confidence in the traffic assumptions being used. Residents are asking for parking controls, safer access design, and proper upgrades before the cemetery becomes operational, not after. Finally, we must address the process. This proposal has been part of long-term planning for years. Repeatedly, the community was told that it was well down the track. Now suddenly everything feels rushed. Consultation has been on again, off again, lack of local forums, and capped off with less than a week's notice to speak today. Many residents feel they've been provided feedback without seeing any clear evidence of what was heard, what changed, or whether their concerns genuinely influenced the plan. That undermines trust. So in closing, the Templeton community is not no cemetery ever. What we are saying is this scale, this staging, this layout, and this process are not right. Starting with stage 2, improving traffic safety, relocating sensitive facilities, upgrading existing community assets, and engaging properly with residents would go a long way towards rebuilding trust. We are asking the council to slow down, listen properly, and get this right, not just for now, but for generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Jolene. I've got a quick question, and then Mark, and then Tyler. You talked about sequencing. You wanted stage 2, stage 1. What are your thoughts about this stage 1 proposal that is being sequenced? You know, it's not going to be done all at the same time. It's going to be at different phases.
I think it is the fact that stage 1 is bordering residential properties, which doesn't make sense if you've got all these concerns and all these things you have to put in place to make stage 1 work. And you can go right next to it where stage 2 is, and you can start there. Work your layouts out there. If we're making mistakes and we have learnings, because we haven't had a big cemetery like this in Christchurch. Nobody has done anything like this or have experience in it. So if we're going to make mistakes, if we're going to have issues, let's have it away from people, not right in their backyards. And we know it's going to grow, whether it grows from stage 2, if it becomes stage 1, into closer to Kirk Road, or whether it goes down Dawson's Road, whatever is decided. At least we've had our learnings and we've created the safe space with easy access, people not traveling down Kirk Road. We've got the motorway, we've got Main South Road, we've got those beautiful roundabouts that's been put in. It's so much safer for people to travel up there rather than down Kirk Road, which we have really serious issues accessing Main South from again when they leave the cemetery.
Right. Okay. Thank you. I've got Mark and then Tyler.
Sorry, that's just the timer.
Thank you for coming in, Jolene, and well spoken. So one of the things I heard you say was it's better to eliminate the impacts rather than mitigate. And that's all about moving it further away.
Yes, 100%. And obviously that has been the sentiment from most of the community that's been phoning me.
Very good. So you'd be all for us to say, take more time, let's get it right.
Yes.
Yeah. And you also mentioned about the feeling of being rushed. And how for many years it was somewhere out in the Never Land in the long plan. But now it seems to be quickly coming on through, and then having this 1 week's notice for the this meeting really kept it off.
It's hard to have confidence in the process and to have confidence in the planning of it all if it feels that rushed, especially because we've been working with council for so long on this.
Yeah. Very good. Or here's hoping we can get the right result out of this.
Thank you, Mark. I've got Tyler.
Kia ora.
I think you went to school with my girls.
Maybe. Maybe. We went to school right next to a graveyard, actually. Yep. So it became normalized, you'd expect. But you brought up something actually that I didn't think about, which was improving public community to be able to help restore trust in the council. And my murals are still on those changing rooms. They need to be painted over. Someone please do it.
Happy to.
I'll tag it.
And so I've got a question around what you think would improve the amenity of Templeton. I am noting that the more movement that goes through, the better local businesses could probably do better with, like the cafe, for example, with a fish and chip shop on their way back out to wherever they come from. But you noted the park. Is the community centre involved in that kind of amenity uplift at the same time?
Yeah, so we're working with council at the moment. So that has been in the upgrade of the domain has been in the long-term plan also for a long time. It's happening same time as the cemetery now. So yes, we're actively involved with council planning that. The Templeton Residents Association is contributing funds towards it, and we are trying to gain more funds to improve the playground. You've got to know that that playground was put in the 1970s. So it's been there for a really, really long time, and it's very old. And a lot of money, I think 285,000 is being put towards the upgrade of the domain. And only 85,000 of that is going to equipment. So the actual benefit, if you do your infrastructure and you do all your other work, what the kids are getting to play on is very, very limited. We're talking about 2 or 3 things that will be left in the park. And then people see that in the cemetery, there's all these plans to put a playground, and they think, well, it's not an appropriate place. It's not a happy place for kids to play on. If you're going to create a space like that, fix our toilets, fix our play area. We've got a beautiful domain there for people to come and enjoy the space, which you can't at the moment. Right.
Yep. Okay. Sorry, Cody, we've run out of time on the Templeton Residents Association. Jolene will speak again on behalf of local residents Stephen Talbot, Mike and Robin Smith, and Rob. If you can.
Thank you. I'll go through that and happy to answer questions after that. I am on the Fulton Hogan Liaison Committee representing the community there, so happy, very hands-on and involved with the quarry stuff as well, if there's questions on that, and I can answer it. So this is me speaking on behalf of local resident Stephen Talbot, who's unable to attend due to the very short notice given. So Stephen lives on Royden Drive, directly adjacent to the proposed cemetery site. He's made a formal written submission and asked that I share the key points of his concerns with you today. So please find attached my original submission regarding the proposed Whakatane cemetery, in addition to what I've already submitted. I would like the following further points to be formally included as part of my submission. Inadequate community consultation for Templeton. While I appreciate the outline of the deputation process for the upcoming meeting for today, I must respectfully highlight a major concern. The consultation process has not been accessible or representative of the Templeton community, the very group most directly affected by the proposal. Notification for the meeting was issued just 1 week in advance and scheduled during a midweek afternoon, which excludes many working residents from participating. There has also been no dedicated engagement forum in Templeton, despite repeated calls for one. As noted in my correspondence, I request the board consider hosting a separate community forum in Templeton for that. Provides plenty of advance notice, is scheduled at a time suitable for local working families, enables open, inclusive participation before any final recommendations are made. This request should be formally acknowledged as part of my submission, and I respectfully seek confirmation on what such a forum will be offered. Lack of strategic integration across local projects. Templeton is currently facing multiple overlapping developments, including the Royden Quarry, organics facility on Miners Road, and now the cemetery proposal. My concern is that these are being handled in isolation, without any clear long-term vision for how this part of Christchurch is being shaped. Who holds the overall development plan for Southwest Christchurch? The current approach appears reactive and fragmented, which is placing increasing stress on our community and undermining trust in planning processes.
Jolene, can I cut you there?
Yes.
Short time. The 10 minutes is for all 3, not 10 minutes each. So if you can just summarize points for that.
Struggle doing that.
Because, yeah.
Okay.
Are we sure?
I mean, just read faster.
Okay, so then there's position on the current plan and summary of concerns. So based on the proposal in this current form, I would be voting no should the board move forward with the plan as it stands. So in Stephen's submission, he raised concerns around loss of amenity, and he included photos of from his backyard of the mountains as well. There's concerns around shading and overplanting, traffic impacts, and multi-purpose features. So just the zones. And then I might just jump to the fact that for Stephen, same as a lot of everybody that's been before me, is the inappropriate phasing. Stage 1 should not be first. So perhaps Stephen's strongest concern is the decision to begin with stage 1, placing the most sensitive burial areas immediately beside existing homes. He urges council to reverse this order, start with stage 2, which is setback from residents. I also have a submission here from Robin and Mike Smith. They are they live on Kirk Road and also on the boundary. So their concerns is around the emotional and mental impact on residents. So Robin finds the idea of living next to a cemetery deeply confronting. Her concern is not just about property values, which she believes would be negatively impacted, but also the ongoing emotional toll it could have on her family, particularly her young children who have already experienced significant loss. The presence of a large cemetery adjacent to their home risks creating a daily reminder of grief, which could negatively impact their mental health. Time-wise, where am I?
You've got 4 minutes.
So noise and appropriateness of location. So it lies under the Christchurch flight path. It is impacted significantly by truck noise and road traffic and the close proximity to Waipuna Speedway and the circuit track. So Robin noted they often have to pause conversations outdoors due to passing noise. Holding solemn burial services in this environment seems deeply inappropriate. The husband Mike strongly questions why such a sensitive facility would be located in one of the noisiest parts of Christchurch. Amenity and lifestyle concerns. So the family enjoys a normal suburban life, mowing lawns, their one son playing drums and the other one guitar in their garage. And they now left wondering whether these everyday activities could be considered disrespectful to grieving visitors. These concerns that they may be forced to alter their lifestyle to avoid conflict with cemetery operations, which would be unfair and unnecessary burden on local residents. Same concerns as other people, traffic, road safety, the intersections, and then inappropriate staging and site layout. So Mike raised a very important point about the staging and layout of the site. Why can't the cemetery be at Dawson's Road end, away from the houses and the sports complex at the Kirk Road end? This alternative staging would greatly reduce the emotional and visual burden on local families. He also questioned the logic of placing a children's area directly behind residential homes and near cemetery services. This should be rethought entirely. So final comments from them, both Robin and Mike believes this is the wrong location for such a development. And they would respectfully ask the council to reconsider both the staging and location of the cemetery. And then lastly is Rob, who lives next to Templeton Domain. And Rob is does not oppose the cemetery itself, but he strongly feels that if the council is asking Templeton to shoulder the burden of such a significant development, then Templeton deserves something in return. He watched the area around him slowly deteriorate, especially the footpaths. They're uneven, unsafe, and in some places an eyesore. For a place that was once described as a lovely village, Rob says it's heartbreaking to now feel like Templeton has become a dumping ground, overlooked and neglected. His question is simple. What is council going to do for Templeton? Residents here are paying the same rates as the rest of Christchurch, yet they're not seeing the same investment. Rob summed it up perfectly: out of sight, out of mind. He's got traffic concerns. Rob works at Brackenridge Estate, which will be right across the road from the site, and he says it's already very dangerous, Madison's Road intersection. He's noticed the increase in traffic with Rolleston growing and ongoing speeding issues. He asked what the council plans to do to slow traffic down and make the road safer, not just for Brackenridge, but for all Templeton families. Rob's message is not one of opposition, it's one of fairness. If Christchurch City Council expects Templeton to carry the weight of the cemetery, then Templeton must be prioritised for investment, safety improvements and respects. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Jolene. You just about time's up, but I will allow one question from Cody. Go ahead, Cody.
Yeah, thank you, Jolene. Acknowledge everything you've said. Not to not take things seriously, I think, but you said about giving something back to Templeton. How would you feel if, you know, council did do a deal and maybe if you were a Templeton resident, I don't know, you got a free plot?
No, that's not what we meant. I think you misunderstood.
No, I understood. Thank you, Jolene.
No, very funny, Cody.
Thank you.
Jolene, can we get the last name of Rob, please?
I will come back to you on that. Sorry, I've tried to phone him and he got back to me. It's been phone tag a little bit, so I'll message him, and before I leave, I'll get that to you. Apologies for that.
Thank you very much, Jolene.
Okay, next Jolene.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And now I'd like to call on Kelly Lynch, also about the cemetery. Welcome, and you've got 10 minutes, including questions and answers.
I promise I won't go over. Unless the questions. I'll apologise in advance in case some of the things I'm going to read out sound a bit snarky. They're not meant in that way. The way I wrote them, they might have
As long as they're not disrespectful.
They are not, but they're very passionate.
Love your work.
Thank you. So I live at 36 Royden Drive, so I back straight onto the paddocks also, as does one of my best mates down at 46, plus her neighbours at 44 who can't all be here today. I think you spoke about Steve, who's next door to me. So I'm just going to read and go for God. If you've read my thing, you'll know it off by heart. Key concerns, property value loss, the direct impact on property values for those of us whose homes will border the cemetery has not been addressed. What compensation will the council offer to residents whose investment and resale prospects will be significantly affected? I will note that I brought up about the children's burial area being highly unethical, but I see you've moved it due to the feedback. So I'll stop talking about that one. Stormwater management risk. So the proposed swale along the boundary raises serious flood concerns. I know we're not Selwyn, and Selwyn's all over the news because they seem to be the most affected, but so are Templeton. I know we're a small community, but we still are affected. In the event of another major weather event, overflow or failure of the system could damage our properties and increase our insurance premiums. So who's going to compensate for that? That'll be the question when that rises. And will boundary residents also be forced to pay increased rates via a stormwater service charge to fund this infrastructure? Safety traffic, I'm covering off a lot of stuff everyone else is as well. Hang on, I'm trying to not repeat. The traffic hazard, I mean, you had the main entranceway to the cemetery coming off Kirk Road, and there wasn't a mention of a merge lane to even come in for safety with all the cars flying up. From the school traffic as well, that doesn't line up very well at all. Car park placements, someone's already spoken to that. Security and crime risks. So with crime already increasing, and that's across the city anyway, the lack of overnight oversight on cemetery grounds poses a risk. So who's going to monitor after hours activity going on? Because we do know there are some bad eggs that do like to go wandering. Templeton is not without that. Are you going to provide security cameras for those homes along the boundary to prevent criminal targeting, because they can look straight into our backyards? Loss of open space and fencing. Many residents purchase properties along this boundary for the open landscape, and we know things are always going to change, but with this now being taken away, is there going to be responsibility for providing new fencing, screening and maintenance from the other side? Because we're quite open to everything. You know, I see sheep most days. Tree planting and loss of life. I personally removed the trees from my section. Please don't comment on my garden, Sarah. From my section to allow more sunlight, especially in winter. So the proposal to plant trees along the cemetery boundary will block light and compromise home safety. So what are the height limits to these trees, and who's responsible for the storm damage or debris clearance? The plan refers vaguely to shelter covers and other roofed areas which could become unsightly and further erode the amenity of our properties. Boundary residents have the right to know the nature and design of these structures. The justification for building stage 1 next to residential homes is based on proximity to the current quarry. The reason is flawed because the cemetery will not be operational as stated, for years, and by then the quarry would have already moved further south by that stage. The quarry already manages its impact in line with permits and clauses. It is not a long-term constraint. The cemetery, unlike a home, does not need peace and quiet now. Its development could easily begin in the more remote stage 2 area. If noise is truly a concern, this is where it sounds a bit snarky. If noise is truly a concern for mourners, are the council and developers also lobbying the Christchurch International Airport, New Zealand Defence Force, United States Air Force, which includes my favourite C-17s and Hercules, all the airlines including Singapore and United, or even Waipuna Raceway, which operates most weekends with significant noise, to delay flights or events during funeral services? I think that I'm almost done. Or am I? Yes, I am. I think as a community, we all need guarantees that I support stage 2 going first. It just makes sense. It's not against properties. I'm pleased the kids one's been moved on the plans anyway. But there are the concerns of security of when it does come to the new stage 2, we're going to start calling it. You know, who's going to compensate for what? Because our land values are going to go down on what we're going to be facing. Stage 1 being stage 2 now would be a lot better because we can adjust. We know something has to be there, but we were also aware that we do have the Emirates plane flying over my balcony. And if you're driving down Madison's Road, you'll see the biggest house there with the best balcony view is my house. Sorry to anybody else, because it is. But, you know, what am I going to do? Me, for example, my family, if they're upstairs and love being upstairs on the balcony and playing, and there's someone mourning, you know, do we get heads up of when a funeral service is about to happen? So I fully back stage 2 happening. I don't agree with the other people with the stadium being outside my back door. Because again, you can mitigate, there's more security risks there too, because it's an open thing that people can go and do burnouts and stuff in the car parks. So I think that's it.
Cool.
I've rattled very fast.
Thank you, Karen. Well, right, I've got questions from Cody and Mark. We've got 3 minutes left, so if you can just, right. Thanks, Cody.
Thank you for coming. We got some advice from staff. If we did switch the 2 stages around, you know, the cost to redesign would be around $150,000, which sounds like a lot. But if we remember that this is a $15 to $20 million project, it's kind of hard to put in perspective. So the way that I'd look at that was, if your weekly grocery shop was $200, you know, 0.5% is just $1.
Question,
do you
please,
think?
Cody?
Yeah. So the question is, do you think that would be money well spent? You know, $1 out of your $200 grocery shop to move the location and the stage.
Are you proposing to put the costs onto us?
No. What I'm saying is
I'm
do you
gonna
think
ask, 'cause
do you
someone
think
might
that's good?
forget it.
Is it good value for money for us to spend that extra money to shift it? That's a question.
Yes, because I think this whole thing, I agree, feels extremely rushed. So I have not lived here as long as many of the people here have.
Mhm.
That
Okay.
it was very rushed, like I got no flyer. I saw something come through on the Templeton page. And if I wasn't part of that, thanks to Fliss down the road, I wouldn't have seen it. The Templeton meeting was short, and I only know today because you randomly came up on my Facebook, and then Sarah showed up on my door on Saturday. So Saturday.
Yeah.
Thank which we were so grateful for actually having someone come and talk to us personally. Yeah.
It's good.
Good mark.
Excellent. Thank you for coming in, and thank you for raising your points.
They weren't too snarky.
No, that was you did very well. You held yourself beautifully. We do hear your sentiment there about swapping stages. I was interested to hear your comment around the sports field, and please don't put that in the stage 1 space. So that's duly noted. And I'm so pleased that you did get a door knock from Sarah. I think our team is working well there, guys. So thank you for coming in. And I'll take it you would be happy if we swap the stages.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Fully support. And that's from 4 of us down Royden.
Yeah.
That couldn't make it. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen.
Thank you very much.
Now I've got Luke Chandler speaking to the board on item number 11, which is the English pedestrian safety improvement.
Would it be okay if I could briefly touch on item 10 in the same 10 minutes that I have?
No.
No?
Item 11.
Yeah, just want to speak in support of item 11 on the board. On today's agenda, I think we've seen some issues around Riccarton, Tyler on Owens Terrace, with a child being run over and seriously injured. And I see that there's been 5 instances of people being injured at this intersection over the last 5 years. Some concerns that's costing $60,000 when similar projects elsewhere would cost less, but nevertheless, it doesn't have an impact on rates. So I think ultimately at the end of the day, it's good money well spent to solve a fairly simple traffic issue. It's an area that I use quite often, don't often walk down there, but we've obviously got a school, we've got a rest home, a high school, we've got a walking school bus that goes from Riccarton Primary to Levita Church. And I'm sure this might be an area that they might decide to start using. They can then use traffic lights as well. It just seems like a sensible idea. So I just want to speak in support of it.
All right. Thank you, Luke. And I've had a change of heart. I will let you speak on item 10. If there are questions from the board on item 11, then you can speak.
Any questions on item 11?
Any questions on item 11 from the board? Cody.
Just 2 questions briefly. English Street is a bit of a strange alignment. Do you think the design that's proposed provides enough view for someone to see a person crossing if they were turning?
Yeah, I think the proposed plan which also involves removing, I think, 1 or 2 car parks, will give a better line of sight for people on that road to cross into the middle, and then, a 2-stage crossing per se.
Yeah. So you think people would use it if it was in the position that the staff proposed?
Absolutely. Yep. Without a doubt.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, item number 10.
Item 10, yeah, I was going to put this down earlier, but I did forget about it until people started speaking about it. In agreement with a lot of the things that people have had to say here today, stage 2 going first seems like the more plausible option, especially when you think if it's half the capacity and we're building for 100 years, you've got 50 years for people then to adjust to having a cemetery being built in stage 2, or even better still, rather than building a proposed sports field, which is not on budget, seems to be some proposed pipe dream to allow residents to go, oh, great, let's have a cemetery and a sports field. Something that's ultimately probably not going to happen because it's not on budget. Why don't we build the cemetery in the proposed sports field and not build a sports field, and instead give the people of Templeton what they actually want, which is proper amenities and funding of facilities in the area that are already there. Seems to make more sense to, rather than adding new things and not fixing old, is to fix the old and make it better. So I would support stage 2 going first and potentially replacing the proposed sports field with stage 1 as well.
Thank you, Luke. Any questions from the board? No?
Very clear.
Right, thank you.
Thank you.
Luke. Right. Mark,
Is there any chance we can bring forward item 10?
I was going to ask that.
Yeah,
um,
still people here, so.
Then hopefully move through.
Yes, please.
thing on the
We have staff of 9 and on the
8 and 9.
uh,
did 8, and then
but we've got
the staff online for item 8, and then
We've got
if
staff
we can-
waiting.
but then we could do, then we could.
and we've also got
Meeting
a
waiting.
Why are they
But
even-
I think they'd be at the.
why are they even on?
We'll do the correspondence, just in the agenda, so there are no presentation of petitions, but we've got a correspondence. And the correspondence had been tabled.
So there's 2 items, sorry,
Yep.
interrupt, there's a correspondence report on the agenda. And in addition, there is 2 further items of correspondence to be tabled. And that is a letter from Pam Epsilon in regard to the Templeton Cemetery, and a further letter from Robert Seddon Smith, also in regard to the Templeton Cemetery. And that is on members' hub. It's available, and it's going to be tabled at this meeting.
Right,
Yeah.
okay. And
Faye-
so,
Sorry, Faye, can I move that we receive those 2 letters and also separately ask staff for advice about the bus shelter?
there's a resolution
There's
or recommendation
I
here.
had one earlier, Cody.
Please,
If
thank
you
you.
can read it.
So this is a suggestion that you may like to consider. That the board receives correspondence and the correspondence report from Rangi regarding support for the installation of bus shelter at bus stop 38197 located at 100 Amy's Road, Hornby. 2, notes the installation of a bus shelter in Amy's Road is being progressed as part of the upcoming street renewal, and requests that staff investigate the shelter being located adjacent to 100 Amy's Road.
So my suggestion.
3, requests that staff investigate and provide advice on the possible installation of a temporary shelter adjacent to 100 Amy's Road in the interim. And then receives the items of correspondence tabled at the meeting for Pam Robert Seddon Smith.
All right, is that, you're moving it, Mark?
Yep.
Yeah, moved by Mark, seconded by
Cody?
I'll second it.
Cody.
Thank you.
Right.
Yep.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Carried. Now, on Councillor Mark Peters' request, we will juggle the agenda. We will just do item number 8 because we've got staff waiting on that, and then we will do item number 10.
You gonna move it, bro?
Right,
People.
okay. Item 8
Pardon me?
is proposed lane names 201 Halswell Road, Halswell. We've got Sean, you are online?
Yes, I'm here. Good evening.
Can I move those?
Yep, happy to second.
So moved by Debbie, seconded by Andre.
Yep.
No questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you, Sean.
All right,
you,
great.
Colin.
Thanks.
Watercress Lane's my favourite one.
Right, okay, now we move on
bring
to
it next
item
time you
number
get with
10. If I can call on Eric and Hannah.
Lark Lane would have been better.
Oh, bro, not another one.
Welcome, Eric and Hannah. I suspect you might want to respond first to the,
They haven't been.
yeah, you've got a presentation. We'll hear from staff first and then questions from members.
All right, Eric Banks, Parks Platter, and Valentine, page 15. So this presentation is the same one that we gave to the board at the recent, relatively recent information station workshop session in November, just with a slight satisfying updates. So the first part of it is over to Hannah to talk about the community engagement.
Yes. Just check it's on him.
Switch on side.
Oh, sorry. No, not here. So yes, you've heard this before. engagement. We had extensive engagement in 2019, 2020 with cultural and religious groups, the funeral industry and Templeton community, and probably fair commentary from the community that it felt like it was a waiting and then, all right, we're ready to go now. Unfortunately, that's how it works in council sometimes. That on screen is some of the tactics we employed. I did want to address Kirsten and Irene both mentioned that they didn't receive a letter and they've both left now, but I was going to apologise to them. I have spoken to them during the consultation period about that. We're really sorry. I have spoken to the person who delivered them, who said that they did, and have heard from some people about receiving them. So I'm not quite sure what happened, but I did want to just put it on the record that we apologise and that I'm glad that they found out about the consultation through our other tactics and that they were able to engage in the process. And in terms of what we heard, yes. So probably comes as no surprise that the proposed cemetery was more controversial with Templeton residents than it was for those living in broader Christchurch. Who could have guessed that? So we're talking about all feedback. It was relatively split. And yeah, more so the Templeton residents, where 38% said that no, they didn't support the overall concept plan for whakatā. The community board has been provided with all submissions to consider, as well as the report on community views and preferences, but I did want to highlight some of the most popularly discussed feedback. Sorry. So 15 people stated in their submissions that they liked that the project created a park-like landscaped asset for the area. 10 commented positively on its reflection of diverse needs. 11 were concerned about the potential of increased traffic, with many regarding this as already a concern for them in the area. 8 expressed concern about the cemetery having the potential to devalue their properties, and 8 requested the staging to be flipped, which obviously heard a bit about today. Of the critical feedback, some has been taken into account in the further development of the plan, and largely this had to do with the interface of the properties. Eric is going to be talking about later on in the presentation what changes have and haven't been able to happen, but that's it on the engagement side.
Thanks, Anna. So we consulted on going stage 1 only because of the timeframes involved. We're looking at a minimum of 30 years before second stage of that type of size area would be required. And with regards to the sports park, it's been called various things: sports park, sports field, sports hub. And there was an initial suggestion that that site might be appropriate for a sports hub, sports park. That discussion has had no advancement whatsoever over the last few years. So basically, in terms of thinking of it as a sports park or sports hub, it's really just a part of the council-owned land that we're going to retain in council ownership for potential public use. May end up as a sports park, sports hub, we don't know. It's very up there at the moment. And the general idea, I mean, obviously the design could include local amenities, but the overall idea initially was like a regional sports hub. So you're aware of that.
Southwest.
Yeah, or even wider. But to complement other regional facilities.
Okay.
So the cemetery location as a whole was selected because it's already in council ownership. Economies of scale, large site, has a low groundwater, and there's potential to add to the urban forest through planting on site, and lots of other reasons as well, but was more discussed in the report. The next slide. So prior to consultation, the plan, a lot of thought went into the plan and was based also as well as cultural groups and funeral directors and general public. In addition to that, we did have a few conversations, 3, I think, with the Templeton Residents Association and wider community prior in the hall there, prior to the plan being developed. And that was in 2021. And then the more recent consultation as well, which included public and local consultation. So it's been developed considering a whole range of different views and needs and site conditions. And probably critical to this discussion today, I think, in terms of staging, what we're now proposing to do, more specifically, before I get to that, just in terms of what submissions, what aspects of the submissions we took into account in order to modify the pre-consultation plan to produce this draft plan, which is now as part of the Part A report for recommendation to council. We moved the children's area from adjacent to Royden Drive over the boundary up to the present location there, number 6, on the eastern side near Kirk Road. We removed pathways adjacent to the residential boundaries, adjacent to Royden Drive and Azalea Place. We moved the service area, so that's the area for sextons and maintenance staff and so on to use. That's see the number 7 there, closer to Madison's Road. So that was moved back a bit from the residential properties there. And the toilet block as well was also moved further south to that number 7 there you might be able to see in the centre. So what the new thing in addition to the previous presentation is that what we're looking at is defining the area, and this red area represents a general location for the phasing or the first phase of the stage 1 area. And what that means is that we will cater for majority of the different types of burial types that are indicated on this plan. Those that are not in the first several years of development will be catered for in other cemeteries, for example, Yolthurst, Green Burials, for potentially adorned plots and memorial cemetery, for example, and others. So what we are proposing, and the board may like to consider, is a definition of or something that can define this red area, so that what we're saying is in the first several years of development, which would probably be around about 10 years, no burial spaces, no burial plots will be created or used outside that area. And in terms of giving a bit more certainty to people, we're suggesting that the limits of that area be defined as nothing within 150 metres of the existing residential areas of Madison's Road, so those 2 houses on Madison's Road, Azalea Place and Royden Drive. And I think that's probably a significant step in terms of addressing residents' concerns about proximity, and provide certainty for all really. And within that area, also worth noting is we can phase the development between running west to east. So you can see, like, for example, the area A in the southwest corner of the red area, we can start development there and run eastward so that, sorry?
Do you want to point in the screen, please?
Okay.
You're also for the
Give this
events.
go, yes. So work, is it? Okay. All right, so yeah, so within this area, and this would be defined as approximately 10 years, that's what I'm suggesting, that no development would be outside that area within 10 years, and the minimum distance to these residential areas here for the first phase of development would be 150 metres. And that the phasing of the works, and that primarily is constructing burial beams and associated planting and so forth, could take place from in a west to easterly direction, so that by the time we get to the closest point within the first within the phase 1 area, you know, we could be looking at well into the 10-year period, you know, closer to the 10-year period, as opposed to, you know, starting here. And we're looking at starting in 2033, ideally. Before it'll be 2043 before we consider development of burial space outside that area. There may be some infrastructure, roads here, road here. There may be a little bit of work here and there, just clearing sites and bits and pieces. But in terms of burial spaces, that would be the limit, and that's how we're defining it in terms of distance to residential properties. And we can also talk about the children's area if you're interested. As I say, we did move that further away from the residential areas. We will need a children's area in about 10 years from now. So we're looking at obviously 2036. So that's a little bit sooner than the limit for this area here. So potentially what we could do is to put a restriction on that as well in terms of the timing and the distance to residential neighbours. In other words, when we get to the detailed design stage, potentially we could relocate it. But yeah, so what we're talking about here is probably coming to question time as well. But I just get the feeling there's maybe a little bit of a misconception about the scale of this, and some people have indicated that it is a large area, but in terms of views and in terms of being adjacent to burials, and certainly at this distance here, you're talking like a few hundred metres away from residential areas, you know, particularly if we start in this area. It's really not just over your back fence. It's not like that at all. Well, the other thing we did actually change was also sort of move these trees further apart, and that was to emphasise the fact that we will be preserving the views across to the mountains, and at the same time, within each area, there will be screen planting, so that when you look out from your backyards, you're going to see a pattern. You're not going to be looking at it like a traditional cemetery, a green open space that preserves views, but at the same time screens headstones and that sort of thing. But yeah, certainly, you know, it's not going to be like an RSA cemetery, anything like that. Anyway, sort of rambling off on a tangent a little bit, probably because I stood up, but yeah, Yes, maybe if we, just the last slide is next steps. So moving from here, if the board make a recommendation to council and the council approve it, then we move into detailed design, which will include specific stakeholder consultation on site, and that's with regards to planting and location of services, etc. in particular. So that consultation has finished, and from then we move on to detailed design and consenting and tendering, and then we're looking at hopefully the first plots being available for sale in 2033, and that date will give us a good buffer in terms of being able to continue to provide burial space in Christchurch. The longer we leave it, the greater the risk is that, especially if we have black swan events, that we don't meet our legal requirements, run into all sorts of problems. So that's the reasoning for that date in particular. And I've mapped out all the other cemeteries in the city of when they will be reaching capacity, and how they sit alongside the opening date of Templeton being 2033. So that's a safety mechanism which gives us about 5 years buffer or overlap with Memorial and Belfast cemeteries in particular. So sorry that got a bit rambly in the end, but plenty of scope for questions, clarifications.
Thank you, Eric and Hannah. So I've got questions from Tyler, Sarah, Mark, Andre, so far. And so go ahead, Tyler.
Good guys. The first thing that popped up to me was the entrance into Azalea Close. Why is that there?
So I guess that's a local community walking entrance. Number 4, isn't it?
I'm not sure about the Azalea residents, but I don't expect it to be too much keenness for them to have an entrance through there.
Okay.
But just a heads up. Excuse me, I'm a bit blocked up. Hannah, referring to the increased traffic problems, what was it with the community that they didn't like? Were they worried that there was going to be influxes and waves of traffic coming through, or was it more around the traffic infrastructure that they've got already?
It seemed maybe a bit of both. So as you heard earlier, there was concern around speed down Madison's Road, as well as the numbers of vehicles going down Kirk Road. That's and numbers on Madison as well. To my understanding, they are the main things. And there's concern about the current situation, that there's already feeling like there is too much traffic, and that's a safety concern, and that there's a belief that this will make the issue worse.
Okay.
Obviously, that's more nuanced than that, but high level, yeah.
And in the conversation that you've done, Hannah, would you be able to dive a bit more deeper into the more social aspects that you noticed with the residents around things that are going to be affecting them? We heard from the Templeton Residents Association and those residents. Was anything else outlined?
So social aspects as in like antisocial behaviour?
Yeah, emotional risk, things like that.
Yeah. It's very, I think that Jolene spoke well to the overall concerns of the community. It feels like the Templeton Residents Association are pretty representative in terms of what I've heard. There is some concern about not being tikanga, having people who have passed away very close to your backyard, particularly from that pocket of there's 3 households.
Yeah.
Up at the top on Madison's Road.
Yeah.
Specific concerns, a few about the infant burial area. Just feelings like that you'll have your children playing in your backyard, and yeah, felt a bit morbid.
Yeah, yeah.
Speaking frankly, the main ones I can think of.
That's good that they're noted.
That you would have read in the submissions.
Has there been any mana whenua engagement around the cultural aspects of this?
Yeah, there has. Yeah, so we went through MKT and we spoke with Hureri and also Tamutu.
Yeah.
And we ended up having the most to do actually with Matawaka, because well, it's got complicated, but summary was that Hureri have mana whenua over the area, but because they have their own urupā, they passed us on to Matawaka, because we have a urupā in Memorial Cemetery at the moment.
Yeah.
And Matawaka have a particular interest in that. So we at to Hureri's suggestion, we spoke to them with regards to inputting into the design and also to their naming of the cemetery whakatā.
Well, and last question is, will there be landscaping being done? If, say, for example, and I don't expect it will go through, but if stage 1 was pushed through, would you landscape the residential edge prior to pushing through phase 1? Just to allow the trees to grow, or
yes. One of the priorities would certainly be getting in screened planting to give it a chance to grow in this area, and also along Dawson's Road. So the primary focus will be of course the main phase 1 area that I showed, the red area.
Yeah.
But yeah, potentially along the road as well.
Okay, cool, awesome. I'm going to let Mark and Sarah already ask the stickier questions. Thanks, guys.
I've got Sarah next.
Hi guys. So when you talked before, Eric, about the staging around 10 years, that's a new thing? That's not in the report, is it? So residents don't know about that. Is that correct?
Yeah, it is a new suggestion. Yes, that's right. I mean, it was always going to be staged or phased within. It gets a bit confusing, staging, phasing, but the red area being defined. Yes, yep. So, and I guess there was particularly in response to the residents concerned about being adjacent to it and all that involves, defining that as a specific area. And what the reason that we showed that red area as being a little bit fuzzy is because we can't say it's going to be exactly on that line now until we do detailed design. But having the distance limiter on that, which potentially could be part of the resolution, makes it a bit more definite, or a lot more definite, that there won't be any development of burial plots within that 150 metres for at least 10 years. And then potentially after that, we could actually increase that red area. Is it still possible to see that presentation?
Well, to be honest, that answers my question.
Okay, yeah.
Because
on page 49 of the agenda,
it's a bit tricky for us to make a decision without knowing what the residents think about that. What's proposed? What you're proposing?
Sarah, just to clarify, that is in the report. That red area.
Oh, so
no, the red area is, but defining that it's only.
What's the reason?
And
so what Eric is saying is that that information is included in the report, but if the board chooses to, then you can specifically resolve. So the CAR recommendation is what it is, but you can specifically note those specifics, which is what I said.
Okay, but on that note,
the information isn't. Yeah, it's just it would be a change to the resolution.
Okay, so like when you talked about the misconception about scale, that's my concern. In that, I just don't think we've had enough time, resources, allow engagement with there has been engagement, but the fact that residents haven't received mailbox drops, others have only had a short period of time.
Question, Sarah?
So my question is, what is my question? That do you think we've got adequate information to? Well, you do. No, sorry. I'll leave it at that. I don't really know where I was going with that, but yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Sarah. Mark, go ahead, please.
Thank you. So you've heard, like we have extensively from the community today, about their desire to investigate the possibilities of swapping stage 2 and stage 1. Is that a possibility that we can explore today?
We can talk about it. Yeah, sure.
Because certainly, I'll put a card on the table here that I'm considering the option of a resolution to lay it on the table and ask for further information around concepts of stage 2 as the first stage. So that wouldn't be a game breaker for you?
You mean moving to stage, swapping the stages?
Yes.
Well, as our recommendation says, we prefer stage 1 over stage 2. And as we've talked about before, and in this report, there are many reasons for that. Not just the time and the cost. We're looking at, by the time we go through investigations and engagement with all the different groups and then consultation, we're looking at a minimum of a year to get a plan for that area, as well as the cost. But and I think probably defining the first phase of the development as being distant from the residential areas, we see as being more than answers the residents' concerns about proximity, because it's in 10 years' time, where we would start to look at developing outside that red area. We would look to the west of that red area, and unfortunately can't see it at the moment, but or the southwest of the area, so it's still away from the residential area. So the residential area development adjacent to the residential areas down that eastern end towards Kirk Road, Maddox Road, Royden Drive, there's no reason that we would have to develop that area for at least 20 to 25 years from the date of the opening in 2033. So that's decades away.
Yeah. Looking at that plan too, you've got the Kirk Road entrance. You've labelled it as a secondary entrance.
Yes.
Is there a way that, should this go ahead, that secondary entrance could be basically limited in its traffic to service vehicles only, or not as a general public main access point?
Certainly, with the phase 1, that is much more. The first phasing, that is much more likely. It's always good practice to have 2 entrances and exits, especially something separate roads for safety reasons as well as operational reasons. But as with the traffic implications, we have the ability, obviously, to close that entrance, and depending on the time of the day of cemetery, or there are any issues with the roads, an accident, whatever, we can shut either of those entrances and use one or the other. We don't have to use both. So that's always an option to manage those impacts, which we believe will be very minor. When we're looking at when the cemetery opens, we're looking at an average of 1 burial per day. And that'll gradually increase over time, but very slowly.
Very good.
All good, Mark. Thank you. Andre, Cody, and Tyler.
Thank you. You said talk a bit about the engagement in 2019 with Templeton residents and sort of what came out of that engagement and how it fed into putting together these concept plans and the staging.
So that was the initial contact with the community. And it was more, I suppose, getting a feeling for, an inform, I suppose, that we're looking at a site at a very high level, like looking at, this is what we're thinking, these stages, these areas, we're thinking about a cemetery and then potentially a sports hub in this area. And then listening to the residents talk about pretty similar today, I suppose, in terms of their views on traffic and existing facilities, parks and so on in Templeton. So the design that was developed out of that and all the other information is this stage 1 area that we're including in this report. And the initial traffic study had an input into that as well. So that reflects the residents' concerns, I guess, in terms of actually going out there and measuring the traffic and so forth. And that we also listened to the neighbours in terms of not being opposite some of them, like Brackenridge, for example, in terms of locating entrances. But yeah, it's a combination of things that led to the concept that you see there.
Yeah, I'm just assuming residents raised similar concerns today to the being immediately by neighbours. So I'm assuming there's similar feedback back then, and I'm just wondering how that feedback then translated into just one concept plan for this stage, right, immediately by the neighbours, rather than considering different forms of stage. I guess that's what I'm.
In terms of stage 2, as I say, we're looking at a minimum of 30 years before we consider the need for an additional area. So in order to plan that now, it's probably a waste of time largely, unless apart from very, very high level in terms of like a traffic study, for example, which we will do as part of a detailed design and updated traffic study. But yeah, otherwise, things change, demand changes, supply, and in terms of burial plots across the city. Development of the whole Templeton area is going to change over 30 years. All those sorts of things.
Are you able to tell me a bit about the land? How long has council had this land for? Was it acquired for this purpose?
No, it was originally acquired. It was quite a few years ago. Off the top of my head, but it was like a few decades ago. And it's just been held, land banked basically, and grazed. So it's leased out to a farmer to graze. But it's never had a specific purpose attached to it.
Okay. You said to me a bit about the land. So purely hypothetically, if it was disposed of by council, say some time ago, is it land that could have potentially been developed on?
Sorry, just repeat that.
So if hypothetically council disposed of that land some time ago, is the condition of the land good? Like could it have potentially enabled development, for example, if it wasn't being used for this type of purpose?
Do you mean if council had sold it in the past, it could have been developed for housing or something? Well, they would require a plan change, but obviously.
No, that aside, just like in the land, would the land enable houses to be built on it? Purely hypothetically, if it's disposed of some time ago, like we've got sites that we couldn't possibly build on, for example. So it's never
right.
But I'm just curious as a bit more about this land because I'm not familiar with it.
Yes, physically it could have been.
Okay, that's cool. Thank you.
Thank you, Andre. We've got Cody and then Tyler. Go ahead, Cody.
Yeah, thank you. I just had some questions around the financial side. So we make a decision to recommend that council approves this. In that, there's roughly what, $4 or $5 million on budget for this, but it says the cost is about 15 to 20 million. So it says there's no rates impact. Can you explain that? Is that relating to the staging or something else?
So the long-term budget there is held at program level. So if you look in the LTP, you'll see a program called Cemeteries Capacity Development. In the first 3 years, it's at project level, so that's for $4 million. Beyond that, it's a program level, so that's where the $30 million comes into play. So each 3 years, it will be drawn down into specific projects, cemetery projects in this case. So the big chunk of that could be used for Templeton, $30 million.
Okay. And I was just a little bit confused because it seemed like we've engaged with everyone apart from the residents. It's, you know, the funeral industry and so on. Can you just explain maybe a little bit more why wasn't the adjacent, like the neighbours and the residents association involved, you know, 5 or so years ago when the process started?
Well, they were. Quite simply, absolutely they were. We, as I say, we spoke with the general Templeton community and specifically the Templeton Residents Association 3 times at that stage.
Okay, perhaps my misunderstanding. And just in terms of the staging question as well, I think you've also answered, so thank you.
All right, thank you, Cody. Tyler.
Quick question around the process after this. Would there be a possibility, if there was to be movement at the table, to potentially table this and talk through with the community about your concept around stage 1 and potentially an investigation into stage 2? Would there be a possibility of that in terms of another engagement with our community with that option? Because I think the concept itself was there, but it was more around at what timeline is the community going to be placed into the cemetery?
Is that if we were to switch the phasing, or as the recommendation currently stands, or
both
on
options?
both? Right, we can have a town hall meeting and discuss anything. Yeah.
So as I say, if this is approved, then there will be some further consultation with the community regarding some specifics of planting and so forth. If it's not, and we have to consider reversing staging, then we're basically repeating the whole process. Yep.
But if they're laying it on the table, we can have another meeting and then come back.
Yeah, that's what we were thinking by process. We weren't going to decline it.
I don't know whether the governance team might be best to answer that question.
So we don't want to decline it, obviously. We want to allow it on the table and allow for room to be able to get Hannah to do some special consultation with the community around 2 options. Obviously, Mark's referring to this, which is the phasing, which the community weren't obviously aware of as much, of stage 1 of the recommended option that staff had. And potentially the other option that the community wanted was stage 2 of what that would look like, and obviously the risk profile associated to that, including the financial implications of moving it to stage 2 also. I just want to know how staff feel about that and if that's in order, and how Mark, obviously, and Sarah and Cody feel about that.
Well, it's open to the board to lay it on the table and just simply to allow additional consultation or engagement on matter, and you can specify in that if you want to what the engagement would be on current proposals, or you know, the
because I feel like we're at the finish, we're very close to the finish line. If Hannah, if you're okay with a bit more engagement.
Yeah, I'd be keen on a clear steer about what, as a board, you would like to, what you need to know in order to make you comfortable in making a decision on this. The one main issue I have is, in order for, if we're to talk about reverse staging, how much work does that entail to get it to a point where we can have a discussion about both options?
Yeah, I think the 2 that you've just said are quite different.
Yeah.
So there's, if the board decided to lay on the table and request you know, more engagement and outline what that is, then that can happen in a shorter time frame, and then the report would be brought back to the board. If you're laying it on the table and requesting staff investigate a concept design for stage 2 as stage 1, then that's a year process and a potential 150k cost. So those are 2 quite different.
Can we do them one after the other?
I think it would be also useful to know how the community feels about that red blob. That's the phase.
Yeah, that's
if the community thinks that it's sufficient to, rather than the phase swap, stage swap. That's what we need to know.
Hoping not to speak out of turn, so through the chair, but I think you could guess that their preference would still be stage 2 first. And I would just hate to waste people's time to go through this process and us land in still stage 2 first. I think if you give those options, typically that's what they'd go with. I think that's probably fair. And I think the proposal of the red blob is a middle ground at least, I suppose, between the technical advice and community views, which aren't always aligned. So yes, we can do it if you'd like. However, if I was guessing, I'd probably be coming back with that they'd still like stage 2 first. It is a guess, and obviously happy to go through the process, but yeah.
I think Cody wants to say something.
Sorry, if I may have one more question. Did you consider any other locations that were not Templeton? For example, council has some property out by Ruapuna.
Yes, we did. Yep. So that was part of the initial report to council when after they set aside the land to retain. We looked across the city at different sites. Some were new sites that we don't own, some were sites we own, some were adjacent to existing cemeteries, a whole gambit really. I mean, I've also looked across the water to Selborne as well. But I mean, in terms of a cemetery, this is an ideal site. You've got the size to keep it going, you've got the economies of scale, you've got the low groundwater, relatively good access. There are many things that were way and above any other site. There were no comparable sites in terms of size, and the other option would be to try and acquire sites, either extending existing cemeteries by a little bit or acquiring other small sites. So you end up a very piecemeal and inefficient end result. Yeah, just overall, this was way and above any other options. And obviously, you have to purchase as a willing buyer, willing seller. And we've only got so much time. It takes a long time to go through the process of planning and developing a cemetery. So it was a clear winner. In fact, not just a winner, but really is the only option.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, like to hear from Debbie and then Mark. Debbie, please go ahead. Debbie.
Yes, I've just unmuted. Thank you. Just 2 quick questions following on from Ruapuna, just so I've got a bit of size comparison. What is the size comparison when we've got all that land bank opposite Ruapuna? The multitude, there's quite a few sections there, compared to Templeton, and I'm thinking, can I have a comparison in regards to Ruapuna compared to stage 1 at Templeton?
I can't tell you off the top of my head how big Ruapuna is,
No, the land opposite Ruapuna.
Oh, okay.
The land bank area that the council owns on Heskett's Road.
We've sold one parcel.
I can't tell you.
Okay. The other point too is if we're laying this on the table, you obviously want some specifics from us. I'm presuming that we'd just be laying stage 1 on the table and progressing with your more full details of stage 2 as an option for stage 1. What sort of specifics are you wanting from us in regards to laying it on the table?
I don't know if I can answer that specifically.
That's for the board to decide, Debbie.
Okay, I'll leave that to Mark to direct.
Okay, Mark.
Thank you. Just to touch on one of the points that's been raised, Rob Seddon-Smith mentioned it around the aircraft noise. Has that been taken into consideration in the selection of this site? Because it is quite an imposition to the community out there.
Yep. I mean, in terms of aircraft noise, we have other cemeteries that are on flight paths as well. The Oldhurst and Avonhead in particular, we don't get any complaints about aircraft noise. I think the thing about aircraft noise is it lasts very long. So it's probably, we have other cemeteries with adjacent to residential areas as well, and industrial areas like Ruru, and that's probably worse with cars being stacked on top of each other all day long. You know, planes are just like gone in 30 seconds.
Yep. Very good. Faye, can you bring up the alternative resolution that I've?
Can we just
Good with that.
with the finished question?
We've got another question from Sarah.
If we laid on the table and had stage 2 developed, you said that was going to be another year for the full process. What are the legal implications that you spoke of about not having space available potentially? Is that going to still fit within the timeframe?
Oh,
you
for
need?
capacity, burial capacity.
Yeah.
Yes, it will, but it will. It just reduces it by probably a fifth or quarter of a fifth, something like that. And it just means that if we have any other black swans, then it makes it riskier. Makes it we're less able to potentially achieve our capacity burial requirements.
Okay. All right, thank you. Joseph.
Hannah, I know that you said that if you were going to make a prediction about if it was going to go and be consulted again with the different options on the table about the red dot and the inverse plan, that it would still come out with a majority of submissions in favour of inverting. Do you think you would get a sufficient volume of submissions on a reconsultation of that sort to be able to assess like trends in relation to the consultation that we've been looking at for this?
Yeah, so that comment was related to the red dot on the plan, not the red dot as well as the stage 2. Again, guessing we normally get a drop off after in a second round of consultation. I suspect that wouldn't be the case in this. I think you'd get a similar number again, and that's up to you as decision makers as to whether you're comfortable with the quantity of feedback making you comfortable making a decision.
Yep.
All right, any more questions?
Where'd you hear that, Mark?
All right,
What are you thinking?
I think my head's still
Any more
clearly
questions?
where.
no more questions?
Yes, I've got a very brief one, if you wouldn't mind.
Okay.
If we're laying this on the table, could the board be part of the future ongoing consultation
Yeah, of course.
going out to the public on this?
Yep, so we'd always keep you in the loop ahead of consultation and invite you to in-person opportunities to provide feedback. So the drop-in session, I believe, was presented to everyone last year. So yeah.
Cool.
Thank you.
Opportunity to tweak the recommendation. No. The officer recommendation isn't changing.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you, Eric and Hannah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mark.
Yes.
Bigger Mark?
Yep, that's it. So I'd like to move this resolution that we lay out on the table and ask for further work for investigation advice and preparing a concept on stage 2 as stage 1. We heard extensively from the community today around that, so I'd like to move that.
I can second it. Seconded by Sarah, moved by Mark, seconded by Sarah.
Yep. So you got a motion on the table.
Motion on the table. All
Just
those.
normal, it's just no, is there
Any debate?
Any debate?
It's in order. Bob's your uncle?
Yep.
Cool.
Okay, Mark.
Thank you. We've all listened today to the deputations from the community, and it was fairly resounding that there is a desire for us to at least investigate and look at a concept, to have a concept plan on stage 2 being the first stage rather than stage 1. And one thing that I'd really encourage members to think about is that we've got one chance to get this right. This is a 30 to 50 year plan for the community, and it's going to be far less risky doing stage 2 first and allowing the community to understand what the cemetery is and how it operates without having to have the stress of it on their boundary and in their backyard. So we've heard quite clearly from the community around that. So I'm really keen for us to listen to that feedback from the community, and then let's get this extra work done. Yes, it might cost us a bit of money, but hey, spending money to get it right, I think in this case is a wise investment. One of the things that really stuck in my mind was Jolene mentioned about eliminating the impact rather than trying to mitigate it. And by looking at doing stage 2 first, it does eliminate a lot of the concern, and rather than trying to mitigate it on people's back fences, we can take it away, get a really good concept and a good option prepared, and get it in the right place. It'll still be in plenty of time for the city to go forward. We've got 30, 50, maybe even 100 years of capacity in this cemetery, and I'm keen to make sure we do it with the community rather than to the community. So please support this today.
Thank you, Mark. Cody.
Thank you. As Mark said, the voice from the community has been very clear. I'm disappointed that we didn't have more time also for people to have their say, and I just want to also acknowledge the people who did take the time to come out and see us, because it was not straightforward for some of them. I think Mark's option is the best option that we have in front of us to mitigate the impacts on the residents and also meet our legal obligations to provide the facilities. So the analogy I was trying to give earlier was, and I maybe didn't explain it properly, if we're talking about spending $20 million, it's quite intangible in some sense. So the way that I would think about it is, if you had a $200 grocery shop, it's the equivalent of spending $1. You wouldn't, drive to a different petrol station to fill up to save $1. If you had a chance to do it properly. So, for that reason, I'll be supporting Mark's option. Thank you.
Thank you, Cody. Tyler?
There's a big missing piece of acknowledgements here, and this is a lot of staff's bread and butter, so I just want to acknowledge the work that staff have done on this design. Minus the Templeton community here, it looks really good. It looks amazing. And, I obviously have had experiences with doing some stuff in Ruru Lawn for the Muslim community, and that's come up amazing too. So I know the work that you guys do, so I really appreciate it. Outside of that, it's extremely difficult to be able to say yes to something when residents have a lot of disagreement with the placement of the neighbouring lawn. So I'm happy to support the motion, and it's really cool and reminiscent to be able to see my old hood. So I'm happy to see the concept come through, hopefully, and like you were saying, Mark, as much as we'd like to save ratepayer money, I think this is money well spent in the way that we're redesigning the space. So happy to support.
Anybody else? Sarah, and then Andre.
Yeah, so just to reiterate what everyone's already said, but I'm just really conscious of Templeton being located where it is, and what Jolene and a few others alluded to. Templeton does feel like a little bit of the lost, suburb out there, and so I think it's really important that we can work with the community to give them work together to get a solution that works for everyone. And so I'm really, once again, thank you, really thankful to staff engagement and Eric for the parks side of it, and acknowledging how much work's gone into that. We'll still be, no doubt, continuing that for a little bit longer. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Andre.
Yeah, I think there's something that needs to be addressed, is that councils will soon be required to open up a whole lot more greenfield land for housing. And if council weren't using this type of land for a cemetery, it's probably the kind of land that council would first off end up disposing of, but that developers would quite like. Now, the challenges that come with hundreds of new homes that this could fit would be immense. The traffic levels would be a whole lot worse. The growth areas that I represent, the residents have to go through hell for years in roadworks to upgrade all the water and this and that. So there would be many advantages to having a cemetery over hundreds of new homes. There would be. There'd be pros and cons to each, but it's something that residents may not have considered, that fact. But I think there are definitely many advantages to that. That said, the reasons I've heard for looking at stage 2 first ultimately do sound quite reasonable. It does provide more surety, and at least people can then plan for that in mind. Extra resources having to go into further development is not ideal. But if this issue came to us before concept plans started getting drawn up, potentially those resources could have been saved. So it is unfortunate that we get to this point, and it's sort of you're going here with this stage, or you're going to make us have to use extra resources and everything else. I can't recall our board being involved in this until the concept had already been drawn up. I can't recall it coming to us over the last sort of 5-6 years while this work's been underway. So it just feels to me like we potentially could have helped avoid having to redo work. So we've got to make a decision with the information we've got. And yeah, I think Mike's meant it's the right call today. Thanks.
Oh, thank you. So
Debbie,
Debbie, right. Debbie, go ahead.
Yes, just following on from what Andre was saying about us not having input originally. That's what I was meaning before about in the next round, if we could be actively involved so that we can prevent further costs going forward, that would be really welcome as a board. And so absolutely fully support Mark's suggestion to lay this on the table and look at the stage 2 concept as stage 1. Thank you. And thank you for all the work. But we could have prevented a lot of costs, as Andre said, had we been more actively involved, I believe.
Okay, thank you, Debbie. I'm just being informed by staff, just correction, that the board has been involved in consultations and in the last 5 years for this.
And last year received 2.
And last year as well.
No decisions.
Just
Or given
involved
any
in
steers.
consultation.
Yeah, we've given no steers made any decisions.
Yes, we didn't have to make decisions
And
then.
information sessions.
Yeah. Okay. Oh,
Can
my
I-
last
Yep,
mark.
I'll just round off if I can. I really do want to thank staff for their effort on this. And sorry to, do this to you today, but hey, this is our one chance to get it right. So thank you, team, for your comments as well. And hopefully we can get this, laid on the table, get that extra work, and then we'll come back and we'll have a much better solution for our community.
Okay, thank you, Mark.
And thank you for Sarah for doing the door knocking.
So we're
Good stuff.
So that motion up on the screen.
Yep.
That's moved by Mark, seconded by Sarah.
Yep.
All those in favor say aye.
All right.
Against? Carried.
All right.
Done.
Smooth running here on out. Good work, James. Happy to move Reading Street. Let's go.
Reading Street, right.
Andrew, you want to move?
We've got Andrew.
Andrew, patience.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Welcome, Andrew.
Thank you.
Right.
A very minor report, Reading Street. It's actually one I initially looked at, and Edwin, who assists with some of the excess workload in the team for this area helps. A really unusual situation too, because it's quite a substantial sort of private lane that comes off Reading Street, and unfortunately, as we do find sometimes, when the vehicle crossings have been put in, it does leave these spaces which can be prone to inconsiderate or at worst illegal parking. And so Edwin's recommendation in this regard is actually to remove them to address that issue, but also to support turning movements for things like the rubbish truck.
Okay.
Very good.
That's
Any
easy.
questions? No questions?
Happy to move if someone
Thank
doesn't.
you, Andrew.
I'll
So moved by
Tyler.
Tyler, seconded by Mark. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried.
Happy to move English Street.
English Street.
Get me back
Okay,
on.
moved by Tyler, seconded by Mark.
Thanks, Ainsley.
Thanks, mate.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried.
You beauty.
Nichols Road. Happy to move.
Andrew?
Can I ask one question on Nichols Road, please?
All right, Andrew.
Yeah,
Come
question
on.
as well. Happy to second. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry, who moved it?
I did.
You moved it, sorry.
Seconded by Andrew. But questions? Question, Cody.
Yeah. I know a bus driver who operates on this route, and through conversation one time, it came up about resting rails. You know, in the refuge, there'll be a rail that you can sort of hold on to. And I asked her, you know, why do these keep getting hit all the time? One piece of feedback that she gave me was when she's operating the bus, it can be quite hard to avoid those sometimes. And then you'll may be aware that it takes a long time to replace. Has this design got a resting rail in it, and has the interface with the bus been considered?
Yes to both those questions. And actually the feature of it being on a bus route and supporting bus movements had a big bearing on the design, which is why it wasn't curb build outs and things like that. So it has been specifically designed for that. And also the radius has been amended to both shorten that crossing distance, but also to still, and slow speeds, but still to allow that bus to turn. So you can confidently say yes to both. But
okay.
So that factor where they're hit would normally indicate a tracking issue. Yeah. So we wouldn't expect it on a new build. No.
Okay, and I saw online there was some investigation in Pribbleton looking into a refuge there, and they sort of suggested the cost for these would be about 15,000. We're looking at about 60,000 here. I don't know what theirs includes, but can you maybe try and explain why it's 4 times more expensive? Is that maybe the staff costs and some other costs also included?
Often drainage is a big factor, in particular in sections as to I can't actually answer that one specifically why what the cost breakdown was, but typically where new curb lines are installed, drainage is a key factor in cost about what goes on under the road. It's a bit of an unusual location, this one, because there's a little bit of a change in grade too, and also the traffic management costs would be part of that as well. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Right, thank you, Cody. Any other questions?
Yeah, I guess following from that, it may be something to come back to us on, but I'll need to check more about what's going on around Selwyn Ways. But it could be that they're calculating things differently in their reporting and estimates and not accounting for the start time and so on and so forth, or traffic management, I'm not sure. But it's something that's likely to continue to pop up, that comparison. So I'll get a good example, and then it'll be good just for our knowledge, and then for when we inevitably get asked why there's a difference.
And one factor may be whether it's part of a package of works that includes 20 or 30 or whatever jobs versus. I'm sorry, I don't have any further information on that.
Yeah, no, I'll get you a concrete example. It's just a cost estimate that they've got so much, but it could be totally wrong anyway. But
in general, each site is different. And something that may seem relatively straightforward are actually quite costly, and vice versa.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Right, thank you. So moved by you and seconded by Andre. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against?
Aye.
Carried. And item number 13, Community Parks Rolling Renewal Program.
We have Bridie on.
We've got Bridie online.
Got a question.
Question from Tyler and then Mark. Okay, go ahead, Tyler.
Oh, it's Bridie online.
Bridie online.
Yep.
Yes, I am online.
Hey, Bridie. Hey, I've got a question around a certain reserve. Are these renewals locked in, or are we actually approving these today?
Yeah, just approving this today. So these are the ones that were presented to you back in, I think it was October when I first came to you guys.
Yep.
Yeah, this is just locking in that proposed.
So there's been a new study done by some UC students around Hanson's Reserve. Have you seen that before?
No, I haven't.
It was really good, actually. There was a comprehensive study done on Hanson's Reserve, and I'd actually want to talk to you about potentially renegotiating some renewals in that reserve and swapping one out for another Riccarton one. Is that possible today?
We would, the rest of the board would have to agree to which Riccarton one you'd want to swap out and the reasons for it, or we could put it into the program and for next financial year.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
sorry, I don't mean this year. It could be next year or the year after.
Yes, if the other board members are on board with that, that would be okay to do.
Would it be possible to add a resolution by chance? I'm just asking the governance staff at the moment to add a resolution to us to prioritise Hanson's Reserve in FY 27-28.
Sorry, what would it be for which? So when you say renew it, when I've come to you guys, it's for specific asset types. So
yeah, so it'll be either a green asset renewal, which could potentially be done, or even a place-based renewal.
Okay, do you know which one you would want, or
would you? If I made it easier, would it be better if I just asked yourself, staff, to review Hanson's Reserve and maybe come up with something yourselves? Because you obviously know better around what budget's there and what you might be able to swap, chop and change.
Yep, what we could do is, why don't we put those in, put them into FY 29, and then we can look at them so they don't fall off the program.
Yeah.
And then we can bring them forward.
Yeah, that sounds good. Okay.
Okay, cool. So we'll add those two in to FY 29 as part of the resolution.
Yeah, because Hanson's Reserve has footpath renewal booked for FY 27.
Yep. Yeah, well, it makes sense to do some green asset probably at the same time potentially. That's something we could look at.
Okay, and there's some zip-tier issues with them. Which asset, I guess, what budget line would that come out of? So in terms of park benches and things like that, is that?
So park benches, we tend to just renew like for like with park benches when they deteriorate. Our rangers tend to manage that, so I can have a chat. It's very easy actually for us to take a bench set in and out. We don't tend to talk to you guys about that so much because it's kind of more minor stuff. But if that's something that this
it's almost hilarious. Yeah, it's almost hilarious where this bench is facing. It sounds real grassroots, real like nitty gritty, but this stuff really matters to the people who go there.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll work it out offline. I'm sure we can. But
we can do that offline.
Hanson's off there for 27 right now, but if we could put it into FY 29 for
the house office renewal and the
place-based renewal, it was place-based renewal for FY 29.
So
can we also add Vickery's Reserve into FY 29? Is that
no? There's a problem with Vickery's.
Is there?
Yes.
Yeah, the land. So Vickery's, the land is not owned by council; it's Air Force land. So our plan is so we did have Vickery's lined up to do. Because we don't own the land, there's some complications around us actually building via our public assets on private land. So that's something our planners are working through at the moment. We haven't lost sight of Vickery's though, because we know you know, it's still wanted by the community. So we're going to do some extra maintenance and try to keep it operational in the meantime until we can get that resolved.
Is there anything I can help with being on the Museum Trust Board?
I'll have to ask the planners what it is that they need, and possibly, as I think it's more technical stuff, but not necessarily agreement about what we can and can't spend public money on, like what type of land we can. So, but they're working through that. So if we need a hand, we'll reach out to you.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Right. Anything else? Anybody else?
So what do we have a motion?
Do we have any more questions for Bridie?
Any more questions for Bridie?
Question.
Does Cody or Debbie have any questions?
Sorry, I'm fine. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry, because I
do have a question.
Okay. Tyler, one last.
Bridie, I was talking to Rupert about half-court basketball hoop renewals. What budget line does that come out of?
Play. Sometimes it's planned, sometimes it's we can fund it through some hard assets. Megan Carpenter, a part of her play network strategy, actually identifies some of those assets.
Yeah.
So when that strategy, that network plan comes out, that'll help guide us for where those new half courts or full courts need to go.
Yeah. So if we wanted to encourage actually putting in regulation hoops, would that be through you?
Yep. So when we go in to build them, so my team deliver the actual projects themselves. So we can definitely do that. Yeah.
And through what mechanism is that done? Like if there were types of hoops, for example, or types of football goals, which actually get a lot of pickup. You know, the football hockey hybrids. Those are really good.
Yeah.
How would we get that information through you? Through what mechanism would the board be able to provide feedback on that?
Probably straight through your governance team. And we actually will be, so from now on, like when we do hoops, we're trialing at the moment proper hoops that move. They're not just your rim anymore, to see how long they last. And so far they've been really successful. So we will be putting in regulation hoops from now on anyway.
Yes. Awesome. Great.
Yeah.
You guys are awesome. Thank you.
Cool.
Cool.
I'm
going to the
Sorry.
You, Cody.
It's all right. Do you?
Not me.
Need to check with this. So we're moving to.
So, Bridie, just checking in on you around the wording of what I think is going to be the motion. So the suggesting now that the board approve the schedule with the addition of Hanson's Reserve to the schedule for what type of renewal? Is it place-based renewal?
Yeah.
In financial year 29, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's how I understood it.
And maintaining it because it's already in 27 for hard space renewal, is it? Yeah,
and
so we're going to keep it there and we're going to add it for place-based renewal in financial year 29.
Yeah.
Just keeps it on program.
So is that what you're?
Yeah, no, that's right.
Okay. All right, Bridie?
Yep, perfect. Thank you.
I wonder why Picton Reserve needs new hard surface though. There's other places that move that. Yeah, I know. It's the worst part. Do better. Yeah, happy to move.
Move that, so.
Yep, I'll second.
And seconded by Cody. Right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against?
Aye.
Carry, thank you.
Are they getting rid of that tennis court at Templeton? Or pickleball court? Basketball hoops?
All right, now we move on to item number 14. Tree removals, green stream, stormwater facilities, stream enhancement. We've got staff online? No?
No.
Oh, we've got it here. Oh.
Marie, I was actually happy to move this one if everyone's happy with that.
Are there any questions? There's a question from Andre. All right, so moved by Toby.
Hello.
Hi, kia ora. I'm Melissa. I'm Melissa Johnson, the Agriculture Advisor.
Nice one. Good to see you.
I'm Olga Naumova. I'm the project manager for the stream improvement works.
Cool. Nice one. Just keen to get your feedback on the best way to engage the community going forward. So it's this year and getting a whole lot of questions on, and we're just going to need to come to a point where we make it really, really clear what we'll be able to change, what are consent conditions, what the community can have some input into, how we can make sure we've got their input. I know there's an upcoming engagement and work around this area, but at this point, I'm struggling to get my head around a lot of it, and as are the community. So I'm just wondering how we can get probably a briefing here or a meeting with the community on future plans for this area. This is, I guess, more than just the trees.
It is more than trees, and I think your question is more to the whole area. If you look at the drawing here, it's like a basin and development. We are here just at the moment, it's just talking about 15 meters length of the stream improvement.
Cool.
So I think if you want to talk more, it probably needs engagement with the planners. This is such a small improvement. It's just, but I think I know where you're coming from, because the community was trying to reach out to me and talk about how it's all staged. It's just out of my capacity to answer. It's a big scale.
You know, so someone's put a sign up on telling people to contact council. So it's kind of, so we're going to need to respond to that, and
But for me, I just know that our planner very closely talking with the community.
Yes, but it's just things are a bit unclear. So I think I've got a way to just add something to this requesting briefing would be the best way forward. Cool, thank you.
And you always can send the questions to us or even to me, and I will forward the questions.
We're talking like multiple questions every week, and it's got to the point where actually we're just going to have to get people in the room together, and
No, just that writing report. If you're going to send that to me, request of who you think you need in an information section and the type of engagement you're looking for, and then I can follow up with it.
There's a lot to unpack here.
I just think that's probably separate to this report, so in a resolution.
But I wouldn't come to approving this report until I've got a guarantee that we can have something like that in the pipeline.
I'm going to return in a moment. 1923, leaving the room.
So, I mean, my preference would be to approve this with a request in the resolution seeking for a public information session with residents. There's a whole lot happening here, and the communication at current's really messy. I mean, what people are asking relates exactly to these facilities.
When you say this, I think you're not talking about the stream. I think you're talking about the whole area. If you move slightly up, I think you're talking about the whole area, including the basins. Just here, you're talking about the whole area. I'm just talking about just this.
Residents do want to be kept up to speed with the trees as well.
Yes, so you could, in the scope of the report, you could ask for information session on the trees, but you're asking for more than that outside of the scope of this, which I can take, but it just won't be a resolution.
I don't see why it couldn't be a resolution. It's still for the facility.
Because they're referring to any part of the facility.
Outside the scope of the report.
This is just about the tree removals.
It is, but there's nothing stopping us from requesting an information session as part of a resolution.
Just don't neglect. I'm sure
I've been getting absolutely slammed with this stuff, or asking for an information session. I don't think I'm asking a lot.
And Bailey's saying,
and we can follow up with it.
But you're saying we can't note it in a resolution?
No, not so that's the scope of the report.
Very thank again.
Does anybody want to move this?
I think Cody moving it.
I already moved it. Look, I've read this report, and it's pretty clear that there's some trees that are unhealthy and trees that will soon be unhealthy. It's unfortunate that they have to be cut down, but they will enable the planting of many hundreds more and over 10,000 plantings, I believe.
Thank you, Cody. Any other questions? Moved by Cody, seconded by Mark.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All those in favor say aye. Against?
No.
Andre. You want it, Andre?
Thank you for your patience.
Carries. Now,
Yeah.
I will ask to adjourn for 2 minutes while we shuffle around because I'm stepping back on item number 15. And from there on, Sarah, who will assume the chair, will take the meeting until closing. So I will adjourn.
Wrong and someone else is going to leave.
No, we still got the two online.
Yeah, we're back online now.
Okay, so we're back online,
Got it.
everyone. So now we are on number 15, item number 15, Calverton Place proposed no stopping restrictions.
We started here.
We've got staff.
Happy to move it.
One question, please. Thank you, Madam Chair. And as the board members are aware, this has been going since 2007. I think this is probably the fifth or the sixth time it's been back to the board. The inherent issue is the width of the road being 6 metres at its narrowest point. We typically look to put no stopping along one side when it's less than 7 metres, 7 metres or less. So, and I think the longevity of this job indicates, is a reflection of that inherent issue with the width. And the other history of it, just to cover off for those who may not recall, there's always been debate as to which side the no stopping goes. And almost always, I think it's been split, which is how we've ended up with this. And the logic for proposed no stopping on the side in the report is that it's the side that doesn't have footpath. So anyone getting in and out of a car, and
if the parking was on that side, would be getting in and out on a landscaped area. The other issue is so there's three issues in the street. One's the width, and the primary issue is trying to protect the street so people can go through, pass. Emergency vehicles can get through, the rubbish truck can get through. And the problem is that when they park opposite each other and diagonal, on occasions, and it is quite occasional, it blocks the through route, or it restricts it, effectively. The other issue is some inconsiderate parking on the bend, which affects one of the properties, which the proposed no stopping on that side would resolve. The third issue is the one that was raised by one of the residents, and that is inconsiderate parking opposite a driveway, which can restrict access, and that can happen now, and it can happen on both sides of the road. We did some vehicle tracking analysis for the three properties on the side where it's proposed for the no stopping, and number 4 was probably the most affected if, and it's a big if a vehicle of a certain size parked in a certain way and someone attempted to maneuver in or out in a certain way, they could have difficulties. But what was also very apparent from the tracking analysis, and it was quite different than the other two properties, was actually the relatively narrow vehicle crossing that property has at number 4. And the way, if this came in as a separate job, aside from request for no stopping along the street, someone says, I can't get out my driveway because there's a car parked opposite, very first response is, following the vehicle tracking, is actually recommended they widen their vehicle crossing, because that is the fundamental issue with access in these type of situations, is that, and we can see that on site. There is a very large road reserve, there's some vegetation, there's letterbox and some stones, so it wouldn't actually require much widening in that case. So that's where we got to with the advice. I think there's so many what ifs. We're more than happy to work with residents if it was installed and there were still access issues. More than happy to talk with them about what the next steps may or may not be. But I think my advice would be, doing nothing is not going to make this behaviour change, and there's a high likelihood that it would come back. And I suppose the question is, how many times does the matter get considered?
Andre.
So again, number 4, because cars we put yellow lines on the side, the cars we parked on the other side every day, because there's cars parked there every day, right?
It's sporadic,
or particularly evenings.
The main car that parks on the street, we believe to be in that position, that vicinity, is actually related to number 4.
So they park on their side, to prevent a car parking on the other side. Because I've physically been there to try and get into their driveway, and there's a car park on the other side. It can't be done. So I've been there and seen. I'm like, okay. So
there is some options to reverse in and reverse out to enable that to occur. But I would stress there's a lot of what ifs. In terms of vehicle size and positioning. But primarily the vehicle that is seen to be parked there is actually outside that property.
But again, it's to prevent them not being able to get in and out of the driveway when someone's parked on the other side. That's often why it's there. So I guess what we asked last time is, I believe, asked for consideration of yellow lines for just some on the other side as well. So vehicle access will still be retained for number 4. And is it still a possibility?
The advice is that is included in the memo, and that is the primary response is for the vehicle, is for the property owner to widen their vehicle crossing. Because that is the main constraint. They've actually got a vehicle crossing which is quite limited, and also has a lot of opportunity to be amended to make the situation and future-proof their access. Actually, just make it a lot easier in general too. So if the vehicle crossing was widened and there's still issues, then we're happy to look at no stopping. But I don't think we're at that stage yet.
It's just, I'm not in a position to sort of make a decision on something and then go to the resident and say, you're going to have to spend money doing this because we've got the yellow lines here. Like, it's like you can imagine from our perspective, like it's not quite going to fly.
The standard response in these situations is to do that, because that does remove general parking from people, and it also does put an additional cost on council to resolve an issue, which is arguably is related to a vehicle crossing, which is, may or may not be as ideal as it could be.
Yeah.
Which is, and vehicle crossings are paid for by a private property owner when they're put in.
Yeah, but we could put yellow lines on the other side as well.
No, hopefully not.
If the board decided to resolve that, I don't see why that couldn't happen, but that hasn't been consulted on. And
because that's what was asked when this got sent back to be reconsidered. So how do we get that into a resolution?
So the response is that's not recommended and it's not needed at this stage.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what will the process be if it gets approved? What will because the resident's going to come to us, hey, we no longer have access in and out of our driveway. And it's not going to end well. We're going from one issue to creating a brand new issue. Because I have been there and seen it. Like, I know the what is, but like, I've physically been there. My car's not massive. It wasn't doable. So they got a point.
You do have a big car.
It's not that big though.
As I said, the tracking does show there is options. And I'd stress again, there's so many variables, but this is also would set quite a precedent for other locations where the advice is for people to widen their vehicle crossing, rather than the response be for council to remove parking, which also affects everyone on the street as well, potentially, or affects other people. So if that is done, and there's still issues, then we're more than happy to look at recommending some an appropriate length of no stopping. But at this stage, the problem hasn't eventuated or been quantified.
Yeah, well, it hasn't eventuated because we haven't gone ahead with this. But like, as I say, I've gone to see it, and they've got a pretty good point.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Well, hey, we're sending Tyler to go visit when this gets done.
We can approve this.
No,
and then
you can go visit them.
If it hits the fan again, then they can come back.
Yeah.
Debbie has a question. Debbie?
Send you to visit.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you, Andrew. I know this has been a bit of a headache for you. Can you just remind us when it came back to the board last time, was it laid on the table, or did we just ask you to go back and relook at it?
It was laid on the table, and it was requested that staff report back on additional no stopping restrictions on the western side to investigate and report back on the western side.
Okay, and so so how was it pictured last time? Was it yellow lines on both sides, or partially? It wasn't like it was being suggested today. So what were we asking last time? I'm just trying to see what the improvement is.
It's the same. So
it's exactly the same.
Yes, we've reviewed both the amount of parking on the street and both parking compliance, and I did that. And I've since been numerous times to site. I've also we undertook the vehicle tracking, and also in the meantime we've also had a number of other jobs where we've had to check vehicle crossings, and as I said, the response for consistency has been that the property owners widen their vehicle crossings where they're not functional in these situations.
Yeah. The reason so it's exactly the same as it came back last time and we laid it on the table. So there's been no change from last time. The reason I'm asking is because, as you know, I can't quite remember the name of the street that I had asked you to have a look at in Hornby there, and
stick to this one.
Yeah, I'm getting there.
This one.
Is it about this particular report?
Clearly.
Okay.
So I'm just trying to ascertain, like that one there was nothing done with, and this one we're looking at yellow lines when there are other ones that desperately need yellow lines. And so I'm just trying to ascertain how this is a priority one over other ones when there's no change. However, I would prefer it as it is rather than yellow lining all the way around. It is difficult. I've been there on many occasions.
Debbie, what's your question for Andrew?
I was just trying to, okay, Andrew, how does this keyhole place differ from, sorry, I can't remember, I'm not sure if you can remember the one in Hornby where they're parking on berms, there is just no parking, and we didn't yellow line it or anything. So I'm just trying to ascertain, how is it different to other ones where there are huge problems in high density, and this one isn't even high density. It's in high density areas. How does this differ? And we're not making changes to other streets. How does that differ? That's my question.
This
Yep.
differs because the report addresses the issue of through traffic access due to its width. So that's what the no stopping lines are designed to address. No stopping lines would seldom be considered in these situations outside of a project where, for through routes. So we check, as I said, we check the tracking, and I'm trying to think of the other ones I can think of that have brought to the board have been heavy vehicle access issues in Hornby, and they were where trucks, due to their vehicle tracking, due to their size, they'd already maximised their vehicle crossing as much as they could and reasonably be expected to. It was to enable them to safely turn in and out. So they're quite different situations, actually.
Thank you, Andrew.
I've got a question, Andrew. So I just noted that there was 4 properties supported the proposal and 4 did not.
Yeah.
So just to clarify, so I've got the clear on my head, because it seems simple, but it is actually quite complicated. So the previous report, it was exactly the same as this one. So I had something on the same side. Nothing has changed since then. This is still what you'd recommend.
Yes.
Now I've forgotten the other part of my question. Taking into account the 4 for and 4 against, you're still recommending this as the...
Yes, because the main issue that I think people are concerned about is through traffic, and that's what it's meant to address. I think as I said, there's those 2 secondary issues, and this location does have a fundamental weakness in terms of there's always a risk that someone could park diagonally opposite another vehicle and restrict access. There's always a risk now that someone could park opposite number 4 or number 2 or number 6, and depending on how they park, restrict access. And it can't always be guaranteed that someone can park outside their own property and say that that's going to stop someone parking opposite, because we know that has occurred and it has been a problem. And I understand that was also a reason for some of the conflict on the street. So I think there's some issues that aren't going to go away, and you throw in aspects of perhaps neighbours that may have different views from each other or as to what's appropriate and where to park in that. And I know there's some history that's gone on the street. I think, I'd strongly recommend that the board pass this today. Otherwise, we will be back, and there'll be some unhappy people on the street as well.
Got that by the way.
Any more questions?
Yeah, Sarah, I have my hand up.
Oh, sorry, Cody.
That's right. So I have personal lived experience with this, living in a fairly medium density development with about 200 homes. And we went through an extensive process with Barry Hayes where we set up a community meeting and everyone came along, and Barry said, we will not make any changes unless everyone agrees. Why have we not been able to get agreement on this between the residents?
I think the history would say that most people want to park directly outside their house. That's human nature. Yeah. And, most people wouldn't want to have to widen their vehicle crossing or reverse.
So why is that an issue? Is it the width of the road where we've got 2 vehicles parking, so one on each side, then it's impassable?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
And in particular, if they stagger them, it can be very difficult. I think it comes down to human nature, to be fair. Okay. I can understand people wouldn't want to have to. Some people are quite reluctant to reverse into a property.
Of course.
To in the case of, say, number 4, there is an opportunity, and I'm not suggesting they do this, but people can actually make changes on their own site so they can turn around, do a 3-point turn and drive out. That's not for everyone. And I'm not suggesting that be done in this case, but there are options. And
so what we've done here, where I live, is we picked a side. And so that has worked for us. What is the reason that you've picked this other side?
I think whatever side it's gone on, been proposed on, the community's been evenly split. And so this is technically the best side because it hasn't got a footpath. It addresses the issue of the inconsiderate parking on the bend in the street. And technically it's the best option.
Okay, I understand. Thank you.
Any more questions?
Yep, Debbie.
Go ahead, Debbie.
Andrew, you mentioned before about the suggestion of yellow lines is because of through traffic, but it's a place, so there's not a lot of through traffic.
It's the through traffic for the people in the street. So it's not people who are turning into a street, into their driveway. It's for people who are passing through it, whether they be residents, visitors, servicing properties, pizza delivery, rubbish truck, service vehicles. So that terminology of through traffic relates to vehicles passing through rather than vehicles turning in and out of a vehicle crossing, which is treated differently.
How many complaints have you had from the residents? Because there's not a huge number of residents down there. So just wondering, how many complaints have you had?
I've had a lot. No, there isn't a lot, but the complaints that have been received and the complaints have been made aware of, and including the issues where I think it was referenced last time there was police in attendance. I think they are reasonable complaints that have been raised given the width of the street, and given our guidance where the road is of this width that we would normally put no stopping lines in. It is difficult. I think it would be difficult to argue against putting any lines in because the guidance is there to avoid these type of situations. It's never going to resolve completely parking disputes and issues in the streets of people parking inconsiderately or deliberately even. And if people have got vehicles of a certain size and they choose to live there, or say the trailer or a caravan or things like that. But this is based on what would we consider general usage and what's fair general usage.
Okay, so say for instance we do go ahead and yellow line, it's only policeable during working hours, isn't it? Because you cannot call parking unit or anything. So in other words, the neighbours will.
No, Debbie, you can call after hours now for driveways, I believe.
No, I'm not talking about driveways. I'm talking about on yellow lines. So if they park on a yellow line, there's no parking unit that will come out, and this is what we find everywhere that you
What's
can.
your question?
We can move on to debate if questions are done.
We can move
my
on to
question,
debate.
my question is that it's only police. My question is to Andrew. It's only policeable during working hours, isn't it? If somebody parks on a yellow line.
No, the after hours responsibility does sit with the police, and an issue like where someone cannot pass through a street, I imagine would be treated as a higher priority than.
No, I'm not talking about if they can't pass through a street. I'm talking about parking on a yellow line. That's not being a hindrance to anybody.
So parking on a yellow line with a vehicle parked opposite or diagonally opposite and inhibiting through traffic access would be considered obstructing the street and would be a police matter. And one is both of a civil nuisance issue probably at least, but it would restrict emergency vehicle access too. And also I think there's an element which we have touched on in the memo, which is it is hoped that people in a street or in a situation like this would talk with each other and actually amongst themselves come up with an appropriate way to park and conduct parking in the street, because some of these factors, whether they be inconsiderate or deliberate, aren't able to be fixed through enforcement alone or through no stopping lines. So yeah, that we cover that in the report. We would encourage people in the street to talk about the situation and how they're going to make it work.
Okay, just got one more question from Cody.
Yeah, thank you. To what extent does this go over and above what the legal prohibitions are? Of course, you can't park on a bend. We know that. You can't park within a metre of driveway. How much more parking is this taking away? Is it 1 or 2, 3 parks roughly? Do we know?
I think the key bit is that the demand doesn't exceed supply for parking. So even if it was to remove, I think I might have referenced that in the other report. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's not like demand exceeds supply. So even if there was 5 or 6 parks that were no longer able to be used, it's not like that can't be included in the street. So the parking demand we've observed is at best moderate and has been almost always light. And I've lost count of how many times I've actually visited because it's not that far away. And I have been dropping in at random times as a parking. They did 7 days. So I'm quite confident that given the residual level of parking in the street, that's easily able to be accommodated.
Yeah. And they all have off-street parking as well, don't they?
Yes,
from the
yes.
ones I'm looking at. Yeah.
And
Okay.
they also have significant amounts of off-street parking, which is another important factor to note.
Yeah.
And also each property, by the look of it, does have quite a lot of ability to manoeuvre should they need to do so.
Thank you.
Great. So Mark has moved it. Have we got a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Cody. The motion.
And for table.
Thanks, Andrew.
Does anybody want to speak to it?
Yes.
Go ahead, Cody.
I was concerned, and I guess my opinion's a little bit swayed when I heard that, police are turning up. I had to go through that same experience in the area where I lived, and we did have, ambulance visits this area where I live fairly frequently. We had issues also with the rubbish collection not being able to happen, which was very frustrating. They have to come back after some time. The bin's not always that big. And the things just really add up. Getting deliveries and stuff became very hard. People turning up at each other's door and sort of threatening each other. So when I'm looking at this report and I'm looking at the lines, there are very few places where people can park. And people sometimes they can get confused, and someone can park in one place, someone else will park in another place, which can lead to the road being blocked. And it's usually unintentional. There's not really an ideal side to pick. I guess weighing in favour of this as well as that everyone appears to have some sort of off-street parking. And I guess the intent here from me is to ensure that everyone is able to get safely to and from their home without putting themselves or someone else at risk. Thanks.
Mark?
Yeah, hey, look, this has always been battered around for a very long time. It's going to be good to actually get a decision and get it done. No, we're not going to make everybody happy, but we've got to do what we've got to do to try and have this road passable. Hopefully this sort of poor design, which is what this is, no longer happens, or maybe if it still happens, we need to get our infrastructure design standards altered so that it doesn't happen. So unfortunate to have to, do it with a split decision like that, but let's do it. Let's get on with it.
The motion, those in favour, say aye.
I've got my hand up.
Sorry, Debbie, I didn't say that.
No, that's all right.
Go for it.
Unfortunately, I didn't get round to asking Andrew, just an afterthought about whether or not there'd been subsequent incidences since we had turned it down. I'm concerned that it is not intensified and that an intensified place, and yet we aren't doing this on other places, and so I'm just concerned that this is setting precedents to do the same elsewhere. Of course, I'm always after safety, but I do wonder how much a yellow line, I see yellow lines being parked on all the time, and so, you know, it's just the lack of policing that I'm concerned about as well. But yeah, so is Andrew there and able to answer that question still? Has he been incidences since?
No, he's left the table.
We're in debate.
We're in debate.
Yeah, I said, is he there to answer that question?
Oh, just that we're in debate, so.
Yeah, I'd like the question answered so I can make a decision.
He's not available, sorry, Debbie.
Okay, so therefore I won't be supporting it because I haven't got an answer to that question. I don't believe there's been incidences since, otherwise that may have been raised.
Okay. There was, if I can speak, there was a staff memo that came out to the board too, you will recall.
Yep.
That initiated this report coming back. I don't believe there was anything raised in there.
No. That's right. So no further incidences. So
that's helpful.
It's not intensified. There's been no incidences. We're setting precedences for all these little places around the place that are congested with high intensification. So I'm just worried about the cost of it when it's unnecessary, in my opinion. Anyway, that's my point of view. Thank you, people.
Great. And I'll put it to the vote. Those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against?
No.
No.
Two against, do you have that noted?
Have you heard?
Yeah.
She was for.
Yeah.
You got this, cool.
Yeah, it's carried.
So it's carried.
It's 2 against.
Do you want your votes recorded?
Yes, please.
Yes. And Andre?
Yeah, thank you.
516.
Always do
Right.
it.
Number 16. Board area report.
Happy to move.
Joseph?
Happy to second.
Yes.
Questions? Comments? Right.
Go for it.
Those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Carried.
So I have missed
See you, council.
Mark, no, it's about, wasn't it? Andre.
Andre and
Andre.
Joseph.
Andre Joseph, thank you. Yeah.
Number 17, elected members information exchange.
Go home.
Would anybody like to share any information?
Probably not at 8 o'clock.
Yeah, I'll just share one briefly, real
Okay.
short, which is really exciting for the Halswell miniature trains. I was fortunate to cut the ribbon out there on the 10th of January. They've got an extension track. They've been there for 21 years and they bring so much to the Halswell domain alongside the miniature boats and the pump tracks and the playground. So if anybody wants their little kids to go there, their grandparents love getting on the train with their little kids. And the extension track is quite long. It almost goes around to where the miniature boats are. So that was fun. That's all I've got to say. Thank you.
DB, Mark?
I just want to, I guess, raise that during the Christmas break, December, January, Cody and I put in some good effort to get a drain unblocked. It's been blocked for 30 years, causing a lot of disruption around Dressmart. So thank you very much to the street maintenance and Three Waters teams for that. We look forward to the permanent solution that I believe is being worked on, but it's good to get that drain flowing again and no longer flooding every time it rains. So thank you, team. And then looking forward, we look at Hello Hornby is due to happen on the 7th of March, which should be before our next meeting. So please, if you get a chance to come along to Hello Hornby, come out and see the community out there and show them some love, and you'll be able to see just how passionate the Hornby people can be about having a day of fun together. Cheers.
Right, thank you. So we'll do the closing karakia. Please stand.
By heart thing.
Always a hard one to say, this one.
Sorry, not down.
It's a long way down.
Obviously.
How did they ever do cutting with that?
That further down. Yeah. Your report's too long.
Should we do it next time?
Unahia ki te uru tapanui, kia pātia, kia māma, te nākau, te tina nā te wairua i te ara takata, koia rā e rongo, whakairia ake ki runga, kia tina, huie, tae,
Excellent. Well done.
Nice.
Thank you.
I will just end the live stream.
No adjournment necessary, done by 9 at least.
Yes. Yes.